Oh, we're live. That was the hard rocking intro.
I can't get enough of it. It's like
Production value is going higher and higher here every day. You guys are really in for a treat.
yeah,
Um,
the donations are really showing.
oh yeah, no, they're going to show on the next scene after our cool transition.
Excellent. It sounds like the Doom. What's it called? Not OST, like theme.
Oh yeah,
But on like a Nokia 4410.
yeah. One of those ones you wrote yourself.
Yes, yes. Oh, the moment we learned like sheet music in school, I know what I'm doing with, and
Yeah,
it was my mum's phone. She got it from her
yeah,
job.
yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, we're doing this.
So, Woodfloor Alchemist, no, you're not banned here, and I've unbanned you, and I actually unbanned everybody who used to be banned. There's all these banned people, and I'm sure I banned them for good reasons, but uh,
like the
it's a total free for all now on the Baron Strawberry stream.
like a jubilee.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure I banned them because I used to get a lot of people because for whatever reason my Rachel Wilson shorts still get quite a lot of views, and I get a lot of really nasty comments about her. So I just ban
Mm-hmm.
those people. I'm just like, oh, go on, get out of here.
No,
And but
the point of them.
yeah, um. So no, Woodfloor, you're back. You're back. Yes, Crispy, it's today. Of course, it's today. We are the most reliable streamers on YouTube. Today we are going to be
For
talking
3 weeks straight.
this 3 weeks straight. That's pretty good. Today we're going to be talking about the Tucker Carlson speech.
Yeah,
Um,
the moment it happened, I texted you like, oh, I know
yeah,
what we're doing next show.
the Buzzwrecker is supposed to be dropping his daughter here for a sleepover today, so I might just step out and leave when he arrives, and I will see if he wants to come on camera for a little while or what he wants to do. But that's something else you can all look forward to here on the
Yeah,
Baron and the Redneck.
that cork bastard.
um,
I've decided to just call everyone who doesn't specify where they're from. You're from Cork.
yeah, people would love that.
Oh, I'm sure. You lack the reciprocal knowledge of Serbia to do the same for
To
me.
do the same, yeah, I'm gonna have to start really like researching.
You can try. Don't
Um,
worry, we're just as ridiculous when it comes to stuff like that. So it
now,
won't be hard, but
anybody who is watching, or who's even if you're watching but you're not, sorry, if you're listening but you're not watching, now is the time to watch, or you're gonna miss what you pay for here, right? Because here it comes. You ready? Uh Did you like
just
that?
pin the comment for the Kofi.
I'll do that now. Okay.
Okay, okay. I'll give a bit of an intro.
Yeah.
So this is from Tucker's upload, right? So he gave the speech at TPUSA, Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's organization. Charlie Kirk has been taking quite a hard turn towards away from libertarian right, more towards like the populist right. I don't know if people remember, but he used to talk about how when you fly from, I think he said Los Angeles to New York, you see all this empty land. So we can have more immigration than we know what to do with it. TPUSA, yes. Thank you, Miller. Uh, so he has since rescinded on that, but also he's pretty staunchly Zionist. So him having Tucker on, I think, is a result of trends moving away from Zionism. Even most Republicans under 50 now are against Zionism.
Hmm.
So the general public, even more so in the US. But now the conservatives are switching away from it because, I mean, that's the way things have been trending for a while. And then the whole Gaza debacle has really, really done them in. Evangelicalism is for old people in the United States. You don't get a lot of young ones. Young ones tend to trend even for more conservative Protestant factions. You know, and I mean, conservative theologically as opposed to just political stances. So I don't know. I think personally that he is trying to get ahead of the trend
Mm.
because the boomers already have their representatives, people they support. This is more TPUSA is more for younger people, a younger audience, and it's getting clear where that audience is heading. So having him on, and then even talking to Dave Smith, who has shown himself to be quite a voice against Israel, or at least against this government and its behavior, um, not just in Gaza but also in the West Bank, and then considering its neighbors. So yeah, I think that was the reasoning behind this, and he got a lot of flack from people for doing it, from like your run of the mill Zionists. And then those obvious bots. There's a very prominent like Zionist channel that has been exposed to be an Indian channel,
Okay.
uh, and the guy constantly posts about like Christians stand with Israel, oh Israel, and it's like I am once again forced to run to the bunkers. People just post screenshots like you're literally from India, in India, not just from in
How
India.
did how did he get exposed?
There was some leak. I don't know exactly when, but like metadata was leaked.
Okay.
So you have, which is I always assume if your name on X or anywhere else, but especially on X, is something like based conservative patriot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just
Red-blooded
assume you. Hmm?
American.
Yeah, exactly. All right. The regular conservative, and there's like no picture, just one picture. I
Mhm.
can go and grab like a picture of an average man in like the US and just use it and give it some ridiculously generic name and then just post slop. I stand with Trump, like if you do as well. Right. Everything is an Indian scam unless proven otherwise.
Hmm.
Right? One prominent, like right wing conservative was supposed to be from Pakistan.
Okay.
Like
Yeah, you see
Indians
this.
are inbred.
You see this in the I've told you I'm a member of a number of feminist, lesbian, and women hating forums on Facebook. I tend to try and be in them all. I just find them really funny. I'm also in one where everybody's trans, and not where everybody in the group is trans, but where they're telling you how everyone's trans. Like Conor McGregor's trans, and everybody's trans.
Oh, so that's more of the opposite of.
It's transvestigation. I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. We know the types who like to diagnose others.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, I'm in a number of those groups, and what I've noticed a lot is there's a lot of Arabs and Indian guys who push really hard the narrative that American white women just really want black guys all the time, and it seems like it's really big on their. But they do it in that fake way as well, where they pretend to be white guys in America, and
Yeah,
you just
yeah, they do that a lot. Uh, uh, that's actually not the case statistically. Whites
I
in
know
America
there's
tend
no
to be the
stats that back it
least.
up.
Yeah, they tend to date outside of their race the least.
Hmm.
But if you want to be against that, and plenty of Arabs and subcontinentals appear to do, and another group that's a bit more influential about that, but
Hmm.
slightly more subtle, they tend to also push it. It's ridiculous.
Silver Pie says Gunner Eagle Lover 1776 equals Indian.
Yeah,
That's a perfect name.
there's like a Family Guy joke, like from the early ones, where he goes to like a laundromat, and he said, which one? Wonder which one is Chinese owned." And there's one like called like something laundry, and the other was Big hamburger, #1 super rocky guy. I think that one.
That's funny.
So we can start. There's like 40 minutes of this. We can start, and then I'll, filibuster when
Yeah,
pause
when
arise.
Bose. So yeah, and are you able to pause on your side because you're logged in as well?
I'm pretty sure
You
I
should be
can.
able
Just
to.
let me make sure I find
If you
how.
hover over it down in the bottom panel as well, you can just click it.
Okay, so I can play
There
it
you
means
go.
I can.
All
Okay,
right, that's him
good.
arriving now, so you can get started. I'll just press play.
Okay. The European mind cannot comprehend this. Oh my god, it's a news guy. By the way.
Oh, this is oh my god! Thank you. I never miss a Charlie Kirk event because I love Charlie Kirk and I know Charlie Kirk very well. But I always forget what the walkout is like, and I feel like I'm gonna have a have a seizure. Like anyway, thank you so much for having me. This is more people in one place than I've seen since the last Charlie Kirk event I was at, so it's hilarious. So I noticed everyone's been talking about Epstein tonight, and I want to kind of differ from the crowd a little bit in saying that I watched Ben Shapiro yesterday, and no, before you boo me, I thought he made a really solid point. He's like, it happened.
I'd like to use this opportunity where I'm soloing um, to remind people that Tucker Carlson is very, very funny, but in a very surreptitious manner, very sly. He doesn't go right off. It's always inquisitive with his trademark, style. Why is that? So pay attention to that, because if you're just paying attention to the content, you miss out on the humor.
Happened a long time ago. Who cares? And by the way, we should trust the government and whatever the bureaucrats tell us. And by the way, it's wrong to ask a lot of unauthorized questions. So I just want to go on the record to say I think that's absurd. And it's exactly the kind of thinking that I personally voted against in the last election. In the last election, I spent a lot of the month of October campaigning with and for the president. I voted for the president. I never vote for anybody generally. I know they're always telling you must vote or you can't have an opinion. Oh, shut up. I don't like to vote, but I did vote this time. And I don't.
I'd like to say I am one of those people who say vote and then complain. Like, vote for, I don't know, people, there's like, they get 50 votes, but at least you voted. Because I don't like the whole, well, I don't even care, like people who are constantly, oh, this sucks, this is awful. So I can just sit here and wallow in misery and then complain to everyone who at least did something. And I don't like that. That's a very millennial thing, and I think it's one of the worst parts of our generation. I'm technically a millennial by months, but yeah, just vote, and then you can complain. So at least Tucker did vote and campaign for Donald Trump. So let's let him finish.
I don't like to vote because I don't believe in any of them. And this time I really felt like I know Trump well, I love Trump personally, and what we were looking at was just so awful and totalitarian and stupid. And it wasn't even the arguments that I disagreed with from the Kamala Harris. It's weird to even say her name now. Who was that exactly? It was like a bad dream.
There it is.
But it wasn't even so much the arguments I disagreed with, though I definitely disagreed with the arguments. It was the style of argument that drove me completely bonkers, summarized most crisply by "shut up, racist." Whatever you said, it was "shut up, racist," and it's like, but wait, first of all, I'm not a racist, but that's not even the point. The point is, I just told you what I think. I just asked you an entirely legitimate question, mostly, what the hell are you doing? And rather than answer it, you didn't pay me the respect that you would a human being. You treated me like a slave or an animal by telling me to stop barking. Shut up, racist.
So, just to point out, he said bonkers and said rather instead of the American rather. He might not be Carlson, he might be funded by the City of London.
And I won't put up with that because I'm not a slave or an animal. I'm an American citizen, an adult man who pays his taxes. So, I ask people questions for a living, and very often I get answers that I don't care for, that I disagree with, that I think are stupid, but at least they're answers. At least the person responding is treating me like a human being with a soul created in the image of the Creator. He's paying me the respect that every human being is due. When you ask a direct question to someone in charge, you are due. That person is morally bound to give you an answer. He's not bound to agree with you, but he's bound to stop and answer your question. And the left never did that. They would dismiss you out of hand. You are not worth listening to. Be quiet. And that's, of course, where the impulse to censorship comes from.
Yeah. So I talked about this, that it's not just the left. We are seeing the woke right, the actual woke right, not people who are turning populist, but people who seem to see anti-Semitism in everything and use the exact same phraseology and verbiage in that regard that the left, the woke left, does about racism and sexism and all sorts of phobias. But we talked about this on my channel. The idea is always to try and create categories that if I can somehow get you to be encompassed by the category, that you can be dismissed without any further opinion. Obviously, in our lifetimes, well, I'm 30, so in my lifetime, adjust accordingly. It's been mostly the left that has been trying to say everything is fascism and Nazism and racism and sexism, the worst things in the world, and they are always fighting for this, against insurmountable odds to fight these discriminatory systems. But you need to also remember that a lot of the right did that, and still to a far lesser extent, thankfully nowadays, does the same thing with. I forgot to share this out. Does the same thing with socialism, right? Oh no! You want national health care? Well, that's one step from the gulag. And that's a horrible, horrible argument. And if you cannot do that, you actually have to argue, and that's a bit difficult, or at least more difficult than just trying to throw you into a box. But the culture has been shifting for years now, and I think one of the main causes of it has been the fact that people, the whole COVID nonsense that happened, the absolute madness of it, I think broke some people because they were fully fine with the system, and then the system does that. So, in addition to it, I love the point Kurt Metzger makes. Well, you just locked people inside their houses and left them with nothing to do but but do research. And how do you think that went? So is Boz not joining us?
No, he's heading off. I fixed his computer for him, and he's on the way. He's off. I didn't even offer him actually because he was all kind of busy, and we were moving people.
Yeah, that's fine. But I just shared out the fact that we're live. I forgot.
Yeah, forgetting is a big thing. This should be called the Forgetting Podcast.
The forgetful ones. You can share it out as well. We were just in the intro.
Moldy Apple says we can see you. That's usually the case. That's what we aim for here. It's the minimum. And we start with here, and we start with making sure you can see us, and then we're like trying to say, well, can they hear us?
Yeah, so
You are unbanned from everywhere.
excellent. So now that Baron is a libertarian, we can continue.
It comes from the belief that you don't deserve to speak because you're not fully human. They own you. And that's what I voted against above all. I mean, I voted against a million different things that I hated about the last administration. Their insane desire to start pointless wars around the world. Their total unwillingness to protect this country domestically, to protect the people who live here, to protect the territorial integrity of the country, bringing in tens of millions of people illegally, giving them free stuff the second they get here, making a mockery of citizenship. I hated all of that. I hated all of that. But the thing I hated most was their total unwillingness to answer any question about why they were doing what they were doing, because it was just too insulting. And every single time I would just feel like raising the middle finger and screaming obscenities, which is not an adult response, I'll concede, but that's how I felt. And I think that's really at the heart of why the Epstein thing is so distressing.
Right. So even Aristotle talks about how if the tyrants love nothing more than foreigners, because foreigners aren't invested in the land, and that's something Tucker will talk about later, investment. But it is obviously, so everyone would just say it's either just the Kalergi plan or just, Democrats, importing the voting base. I think it's even deeper and more corrosive than that. I think they want people with no attachment. And it's a classic thing to try and rile people up, is to go and do it, and then give them. I think in New York they got like debit cards with I don't remember the exact number of dollars. So they're treated better than homeless people in the U.S., and that's infuriating to native populations. But then the more they get rowdy, they can cause chaos, right? But it's a chaos you can deal with. But then that just goes to show, oh, well, there you go. It's just the racists. The hate crimes against Asians skyrocketed in New York, especially. And they say this is because of the rising white supremacy. And Asians probably like the last on the list of people who are actual white supremacists. And if they're male, they tend to have an Asian wife as well. But the crime statistics show it was mostly the blacks who were targeting Asians. So yeah, you see how it's always supposed to weave in through the narrative, but it's intentional. It's not incompetent. You agree?
I agree. Sorry, I was sending out that post.
Okay. So, anything to comment, or shall we proceed?
Continue.
I mean, the guy was some weird sex freak who was abusing girls. We knew that. But the fact that the US government, the one that I voted for, refused to take my question seriously and instead said, case closed, shut up, conspiracy theorist, was too much for me. And I don't think the rest of us should be satisfied with that. And by the way, let me just say really quickly, because I was so mad about it that I think I found out part of what's going on. I think we are going to find out more. And I think the truth, for whatever it's worth, in case you're interested, is that the DOJ didn't release lots of incriminating sex videos with Epstein and his billionaire pals because they don't have them. They don't have them because when the original search warrant was served, 2007, I think, possibly 2006, I think 7, it was basically designed to protect Epstein. The search warrant was written in such a way to make sure that the feds never got their hands on the actually incriminating evidence. It's another way of saying the cover-up has been going on since 2007, almost 20 years. And so the real question is not, was Jeffrey Epstein a weirdo who was abusing girls? Yes, we can answer that. The real question is, why was he doing this, on whose behalf, and where did the money come from? And those are the questions that need to be answered. And I think it's entirely fair to ask them. And it's not adequate to say anyone who asked them is somehow desecrating the memory of little girls who died in Texas. I'm not going to put up with that answer. I don't care who gives that answer. That is
That's a
not
flood.
acceptable. And I think the real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was.
What were you saying?
So girls who died in Texas, that's about the flood.
Oh, yeah, of
Because
course.
Trump made a comment. Are you still talking about Epstein while we have Texas going on? And that's when he said that that's not enough. So
You've watched this. You've watched this speech before, have you?
not the whole thing, but I did watch pieces of it. I'm just aware of the timeline when it happened.
Yeah, this is a first watch for me, so this is I'm kind of just taking it in.
Yeah, that's even better.
Working on behalf of intel services, probably not American. And we have every right to ask on who.
I can't drink because I'm going to the gym after this. So I will be drinking after the gym, as every healthy person does. You know, the first thing I do when I come from the gym is light up a cigarette.
Whose behalf was he working? How does a guy go from being a math teacher at the Dalton School in the late 70s with no college degree to having multiple airplanes, a private island, and the largest residential house in Manhattan?
Yep.
Where did all the money come from? And no one has ever gotten to the bottom of that because no one has ever tried. And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with saying that. There is nothing hateful about saying that. There's nothing anti-Semitic about saying that. There's nothing even anti-Israel about saying that.
Oh yeah, I want to make a comment on this. So it really isn't as much as giving a lot of crud to the CIA is not anti-American, right?
That trick has been played so hard on Americans, and I think because they're so culturally dominant, because of the media, they're so culturally dominant that it spills over a little bit into Europe too, and even into the non-Anglo sphere, right?
So more into the Anglosphere, less so into like the continental parts of Europe. Definitely not in Ireland.
No,
we know that.
we've resisted it.
But Europe, not even Britain. Like people haven't really been nearly as interested in Israel. Now the political class, yes, talking
Yeah.
about the populace.
It's
So
nothing like what's going on in America. That's just gotten right in under American skin
yes,
in a way.
go
Sorry, in a
ahead.
way that's just amazing to watch from the outside. It's obviously easier to see when you're outside, than when you're swimming in it, but it's bizarre.
It also has a religious component. So even Protestantism in Europe isn't dispensationalist, right? But a lot of evangelicals are, and you have a lot of those mega pastors, especially someone like John Hagee.
Moldy apple. Crispy's trying to get your attention in the live chat. Continue, Posh.
Yeah. Okay. So there is a religious element that a significant portion of American Christianity is like that, but you also have a lot of the just regular neocon points. So even secular people are very much like that. I don't know if you saw the Sam Harris statement about the fact that he was ambiguous about Zionism until October 7th. Okay, so he
Was he
is.
though? Like, was he?
I'm not sure, but apparently he struggled until that point. But all of a sudden, hey, you know how I made a career out of saying that there is no God? Well, he gave this land to my bloodkin. So sorry. It's outstanding, and people don't never study the things like the Nakba, which is how they settled the land. They weren't very nice about it.
No.
But I don't know if you can believe that the Israelis could be violent and very discriminatory. they're currently opening a settlement that every Palestinian in Gaza has to come into, otherwise they will be considered Hamas and executed on sight.
Mm.
One might say that they're concentrating the population there into a settlement.
And yesterday they bombed the Catholic Church.
Yep, it wasn't bombed. I think it was hit with a tank round.
I thought it was a missile strike.
I think it was a tank round. I might be wrong. But yeah, so good on them, I suppose. But we're just all talking blood libels. It's even a blood libel if you play the clips of their politicians, saying it. So nice. But Tucker is making a pretty good point, and it's fascinating to me that the same people, like your run-of-the-mill conservatives in the US, they talk about how you should never ever trust the government. This is a founding principle of America. But when it comes to foreign policy, all of a sudden, yes, we're the good guys, we're the best guys ever, even though it's all done by those politicians. So, having national health care, that's evil because you're letting the government in charge of healthcare. Letting the government be in charge of endless warfare, that's perfectly fine.
Crispy or Randy points out that there was Orthodox people killed in that church. That doesn't even shock me that much. Whether it's a Catholic church or an Orthodox church or a Protestant church, it's equally egregious for them to strike it, especially because when you actually hear the details, the issue most likely was that people were using it as a safe place, a safe haven.
Yeah.
And that area was supposed to be empty. As in, people have been told to evacuate that area and go to the other side of the city. And they were holding up in that Catholic church, and then they bombed it.
Middle Eastern Christians of all stripes tend to stick together more so than we do in, Europe and North America, because they have, a pretty imminent danger in the shape of Islam. So they tend to be less concerned with doctrinal differences. So I wouldn't be shocked if you have Catholics, refuged in an Orthodox church and vice versa. So good for them. But I saw Protestants on Twitter saying, well, that's just one anti-Christ religion striking another. We always have good friends and Protestants.
Yeah.
I spent my entire life pretty much in Washington, where I knew and loved a number of people, including one very close person who worked at CIA.
His father.
That has never prohibited me from saying, I think the CIA has done some horrible things, murdered a bunch of people, participated in the murder of a sitting US president. It's got a whole trail of crimes. That doesn't make me a disloyal American. It doesn't make me anti-American in any sense. I was born here. My family's been here for hundreds of years. I love this country. That's why I live here. So criticizing the behavior of a government agency does not make you a hater. It makes you a free person. It makes you a citizen. You're allowed to do that because you're not a slave. You're a citizen. And you have a right to expect that your government will not act against your interests, and you have a right to demand that foreign governments not be allowed to act against your interests. That's not creepy. It shouldn't be forbidden. And yet all of us have trained ourselves to believe that you can't say that somehow, that that's like too naughty and forbidden. And the effect of making that off limits has been to create a lot of resentment, and I'll say it, hate online, where people feel like they can't just say, like, what the hell is this? You have the former Israeli prime minister living in your house.
Yeah.
You have had all this contact with the foreign government. Were you working on behalf of Mossad? Were you running a blackmail operation on behalf of foreign government? By the way, every single person in Washington, D.C. thinks that. I've never met anyone who doesn't think that. I don't know any of them that hate Israel, but no one feels they can say that. Why? And I think the longer that we play along with it, the more subterranean and creepy and hateful the conversation actually becomes.
Yeah. So he's talking about Ehud Barak, and obviously you had connections. A comedian, I think his name is Lewis Black, was one of those people who was, again, one problem with the idea of an Epstein list is that you can't just have all the people who went there, because a lot of people went there, not knowing what's going on and didn't do anything and left, right?
Mm.
So you can't just at this charged point just release people because they can have their reputations ruined, even though they, went and didn't pass the test to go to the next level, right?
Yeah, they were there for the hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, well, he called up a lot of scientists, a lot of entertainers and stuff, because that's what you do with this type of operation. You get
Mm.
people who have prominence in the media or the political world, and you try and get compromat on. So this comedian said that he went there, I think, when Epstein entered the room, and said something like, "Sorry, just had the Israeli foreign minister right here. Now I can deal with you." And like, red flags, red flag.
Yeah.
So he left. Again, he no one could explain where he got the money.
But isn't
He
it
was
interesting how these things that are obvious now to us, that we can see, what like people can see, and that's why you're probably getting a lot of Americans even saying, "Well, hold on, like Israel are our greatest ally, but what are they doing? Like, why are they killing all these people? Like,
Mhm.
what's going on here?" So you're getting this kind of awakening. But I know just from the top of my head that there's the famous thing about Roald Dahl. You know Roald Dahl,
Mhm.
the British children's author, and I always heard that he was an anti-Semite, that he had been disgraced in some way. And when I went to look that up, what had happened was Roald Dahl made a statement in an interview where he said they asked him what he thought about what was going on in Israel, and this was what, in the 50s, right? And
Mhm.
he said, "Oh, never in the history of man has a people group gone so fast from oppressed to oppressor."
Yeah,
Right? And that's what he said. And forever, then his reputation is he was a raging anti-Semite, right?
right.
And his agent and best friend was a Jew who defended him until he died and said he wasn't. He was just saying what he thought, like what he. But it
Yeah,
gets
yeah.
lost.
And again, I'm not an anti-Semite in the sense that I don't think there's something genetically wrong with them.
Hmm.
As much as the amount of hatred I could have for Germany for what they done, Ireland got off easy in that one, for once in your history. But we didn't. Uh, but horrible, horrible things were done. But that doesn't mean I think Germans have it in their blood to just go out and genocide,
Mm.
right? So there's a whole slew of events that led to that mine.
Like
Not ones from Bavaria.
Germans might not be the best example. But yeah,
Yeah,
like,
well, I can give you a better example, or worse, depending on your perspective. Like the English. If you want to out genocide the English, go ahead and try it. Um, but yeah, so uh, it's not that, but there's obviously, like we talked about, a lot of the psyche is trauma based culturally, right? So they feel themselves justified in doing a lot of this as like, "Oh, I'm just making sure me and my people aren't being destroyed again,"
Mm.
because they have been for a couple of times, right? Not just the big one.
Mm.
And that's obviously spiritually very unhealthy, and it leads to this type of thinking. But again, it's you mentioned Roald Dahl, but many of the people you see, they're just anti-Israel, and you get accusations. The fellow from Pink Floyd as
Mm.
well. But then you have a lot of Jews who are very prominently against Israel. Right? Even now, you have Gabor Mate, very prominent about it. But there's a book, I didn't get my hands on it yet. I probably should, by a Professor Mearsheimer, uh, who wrote a book. I think it's called something like The Holocaust Industry, because they made like an entire media apparatus out of it.
Hmm.
And broader than just the Jewish element, there's the widespread, Anglo sphere, like the Five Eyes countries. So maybe we wouldn't count Ireland into it, even though you are Anglophone. Is that you need everything to be Churchill and Hitler, and every dissenter is an appeaser, like oh bloody hell, what's his name? Um, Sorry, my mind is
Blanked on
blocked
that
for.
one.
But you are an appeaser, and you're not a lion like Churchill, and everyone has to be Hitler. So that's the formula,
Hmm.
and you have to follow it. So now, if you go ahead and say something like Roald Dahl, you are ruining it for everyone because
Yeah.
we really need them to be victims and nothing but victims for this to work. As
Mm.
much as when you think of the Axis powers, whom do you think of? Yes, Chamberlain, thank you.
Chamberlain.
Neville Chamberlain. Who do you think of it when I say the Axis powers?
You think of Germany. You think of well, I think of Japan,
Yeah,
Italy.
yeah. Anyone else?
Well, you don't think outside of that. No, that's where you go,
Yeah, do you know why?
because that's the story. That's what they needed to. No, you tell me why.
Okay, because if I tell you that Poland participated, and Hungary
Mhm.
participated in the attack on Czechoslovakia, you can't have Poland be just the victim.
Yeah,
But it's
Jonathan Peugeot talked about this very thing. This
mhm,
kind of the importance of this narrative, that it has become the mythos of Western civilization.
yeah, because
And
we no longer have God as at the center and Christ at the center and the saints at the center of how we think. We need a secular religion. This is as close as you can get to it.
Hitler has become even more Satan than Satan in the Western mind.
Basically, yes, and
And
is very marketable with his little moustache. But to finish my point, you don't think of Poland being there in the beginning, although Poland wasn't part of the Axis powers. But you know who was openly on the side of them? Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria. Finland was very cooperative.
yeah,
But the reason you can't mention that is because they ended up under the Soviets, as you know, the pushback got to East Berlin. So you need them to just be victims of communist oppression and not part of the Axis powers.
okay.
So we just focus on Germany. Whoops, what happened? I think Baron lost the internet because I'm good on my end. Can people hear me in the chat? There you go. They cut him off for hearing too much truth.
I'm back.
Okay, so
It absolutely kicked me out altogether. Like, just onto the dashboard, every single thing closed.
yeah, I saw. Uh, we're going to need you to change that avatar.
My daughter put it on.
Oh, then okay, fine. I can
Okay,
stomach. I thought you were trying to be silly.
no, no. Okay, let's get this. Video back.
Yeah, so basically, you just need narrative constructs, and history be damned. Uh, you're free to blame Germany because the principal aggressor. No one, I think, would ever defend Japan. It's just that people don't think of what they were doing.
Mm.
More Chinese died than the chosen people by a factor, I think, 3. But no one cares, right? Because we also need China to be this immense evil. And again, I don't say that as like China's beneficent, but it's not the supreme evil. And I think the U.S., foreign policy establishment mourned the death of the Soviet Union more than anyone because they lost the only proper, competition. Like, Russia is not the Soviet Union, not in terms of population, not in terms of militarization, not in terms of even resources it has at hand, and its territorial, access as well. But it works for now. You add China to it, even though Russia and China did not have good relations. But as the Chinese foreign minister said recently, basically said, we cannot afford to let Russia lose in Ukraine because we know we're next if they do. So they've gone closer, even though the person, Zbigniew Brzezinski, said, no, you should use Ukraine against Russia. China will never join them. They hate each other. Well done, mate. Well done. Okay, let's see where we are here.
I don't care who gives that answer. That is not acceptable. And I think the real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of intel services, probably not American. And we have every right to ask, on whose behalf was he working? How does a guy go from being a math teacher at the Dalton School in the late 70s with no college degree to having multiple airplanes, a private island, and the largest residential house in Manhattan? Where did all the money come from? And no one has ever gotten to the bottom of that because no one has ever tried. And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty.
The chairs.
There is nothing wrong with saying that. There is nothing hateful about saying that. There's nothing anti-Semitic about saying that. There's nothing even anti-Israel about saying that. I've spent my entire life pretty much in Washington, where I knew and loved a number of people, including one very close person who worked at CIA. That has never prohibited me from saying, I think the CIA has done some horrible things, murdered a bunch of people, participated in the murder of a sitting US president. It's got a whole trail of crimes. That doesn't make me a disloyal American. It doesn't make me anti-American in any sense. I was born here. My family's been here for hundreds of years. I love this country. That's why I live here. So criticizing the behavior of a government agency does not make you a hater. It makes you a free person. It makes you a citizen. You're allowed to do that because you're not a slave, you're a citizen. And you have a right to expect that your government will not act against your interests, and you have a right to demand that foreign governments not be allowed to act against your interest. That's not creepy. It shouldn't be forbidden. And yet all of us have trained ourselves to believe that you can't say that somehow, that that's like too naughty and forbidden. And the effect of making that off limits has been to create a lot of resentment, and I'll say it, hate online, where people feel like they can't just say, like, what the hell is this? You have the former Israeli prime minister living in your house. You have had all this contact with the foreign government. Were you working on behalf of Mossad? Were you running a blackmail operation on behalf of a foreign government? By the way, every single person in Washington, D.C. thinks that. I've never met anyone who doesn't think that. I don't know any of them that hate Israel, but no one feels they can say that. Why? And I think the longer that we play along with it, the more subterranean and creepy and hateful the conversation actually becomes.
Yeah.
So I think it's better just to say it right out loud. Did this happen? And of course, that question has been asked to the government of Israel, and their answer is, we're not going to tell you. And I think our answer should be, no. As long as we're sending you money, if you were committing crimes on our soil, we have an absolute right to know, did you do this or not? And yet...
The obvious problem is, and so you have people who think it's just Israel or just Mossad, but then there are those who think it's Mossad, but also like CIA, MI6, maybe even some other Western nations. So that's why it's not being released, because it also is an asset. By the way, what's his name? Alexander Acosta.
Don't worry, still here.
Okay. A local legend, I just saw that. I should... Oh, never mind. So the problem is I got sidetracked by your screen changing. I'm like a child with jingly keys. Right. Alexander Acosta, who was prosecuting him for the first time when he actually went to jail, he got a sweetheart deal because he was told that he should go easy on him because he is an intelligence asset. So that was in the original indictment.
Hmm.
So don't. It's not something some weird anti-Semite invented on the internet. Oh, it's all the Jews. Like, no, 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 no. We know he did it. There is no way to run such an operation without at least intelligence services all over the world, at least the prominent ones, are aware of it. And if they're aware of it, so if he tried to do this like DIY, DIY sex trafficking ring, they would have known about it. So they would have either stopped him or more likely, take over, right? Twist his arm into doing, giving them access, etc. So we shouldn't be naive about that. But there is no definitive answer, and the more you refuse to give an answer, or you give answers like they do on the nuclear program, which is just never say either yes or no, then you can only ever get suspicious. Right? So if you come back from the pub at night and your wife says, have you been with another woman? He says, I can neither confirm nor deny. That's not going to be taken very well.
Everybody has been so brainwashed into thinking that's somehow an expression of hate or bigotry when it's not. It's a baseline question that every US citizen has a right to an answer on. What the hell was this? And by the way, if it turns out that it was nothing at all, that somehow Jeffrey Epstein really did earn $165 million giving tax advice to somebody, which is, for the record, a lot more than most people pay their accountants, and that none of this was actually a foreign intel operation, and that there was no blackmail involved, that actually Bill Gates was just hanging on the island because the weather was especially good. No one was videotaped doing anything immoral or illegal, and then that was used against them to get them to obey. If all of that is false, then just tell me how it's false. But don't call me a lunatic. And when Fox News runs a piece, as they did yesterday by Hugh Hewitt, saying that anybody who's got even more questions about Epstein is some kind of nutcase with an unhappy personal life, who's spending too much time on Twitter in the fervid fever swamps of conspiracies, up yours, buddy. Then why don't you answer the question then? Don't let anybody insult you, anybody, and I mean anybody, ever get away with insulting you instead of answering a legitimate question, okay? Ever. And by the way, you will hear certain people say, well, that means you hate the person. No, it doesn't. I've got a bunch of kids. I would never let them get away with that. If I caught one of my kids, smoking weed in the bathroom at my house, and I was like, are you smoking weed in the bathroom? Shut up, racist. You hate me. No, you're my child. I don't hate you. Answer the freaking question. Were you smoking weed in the bathroom or not? I'm not the criminal here. You seem to be. So I just think it's really important to get into that headspace. And even now, when people talk about this topic, I can promise you, since I spent all day on the phone yesterday on this topic with informed people, they're like whispering certain words. And I'm like, why are we whispering? Why should I be ashamed as an American about wanting to know what the hell that just was? Why should I be embarrassed? I'm not the bad guy here. Why should I be embarrassed to ask what's in this war for us? We got to go to war. Shut up.
This is a tiny sidetrack, and I won't let you go too far on it. But isn't it? Don't worry, everybody. I'm gonna keep him constrained from now on. But isn't it interesting how often that happens? That idea, like, you're made feel that you're the crazy one if you question the idea that some little boy in your child's school is actually a fox. And you're like, well, no, he's not a fox. Right. And they're like, oh, you just don't understand two spirits, or you don't understand.
Oh,
You know
okay.
what I mean?
I thought you meant like cunning.
No, 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 no.
Sly fox. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's always like that. And then it's the same with the abortion debate. It's
Oh,
like,
I can give you a very classic one.
mhm.
There's nothing gayer than thinking about what other men do with their penises.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is,
It's constant gaslighting,
yeah, it's this gaslighting. And you point out things that are
petrol
so,
lighting.
that are, that are so incredibly obvious. And you're always met with, you need to do some more research. Why don't you read a book? Or that you're the crazy one that needs to justify the fact that you are unwilling to accept the fact that this little girl that lives down the road is actually a lampshade, or whatever it is that they're claiming to be.
Careful.
Lamp Lampshades are getting very close to the topic, right?
not the best of context to use the example.
Um,
But yeah.
nobody was made in.
You're not a lampshade yet. But yeah, so I have a theory on how this goes, and it has 3 steps. First step, you diagnose a person with a an intellectual deficiency. So they're either not read, haven't done research, or just generally lack intellect. The capacity, intellectual capacity and cognitive faculties to be able to comprehend how good and well-rounded your position is. If you can't do that, they have to go to number 2, which is a moral deficiency. Okay, so you're smart, you're just evil, and you know I'm right, but you're pushing some type of agenda. And if that doesn't work, you have the third one, which is pathologizing. So there's something wrong with you, right? You have a pathological or pathogenic problem that causes you to think these things. So if you can't have someone be either too stupid or too immoral, it means like no, you're sick, right? Something is wrong with you mentally. That's why you don't agree with me. And that's been the case for these people because for some reason we have been led to believe that the only reason you're not progressive is because you're stupid. And educated people are all progressive. Because that might be the case currently for a lot of people because that's what they've turned higher education into progressive indoctrination. So obviously, if you get into a college and you don't have some type of well-rounded personality, which a lot of people nowadays don't have, you're muted.
I said I'm going to start reining you in here.
Okay,
Just want
I'm finishing up,
yeah.
but good to remind me. Again, where was I? Right, education has been turned into progressive indoctrination. Therefore, people who don't have any backbone to them, because we're now just, oh, you're an individual who's individually individualizing, right? So there's nothing to you, no structure, no national culture, no religious creed that is going to keep you rounded. You're just nothing. So they shape you into these lunatics who think now they're better than everyone because they've got a degree and they can look down on everyone. No one can say that someone like Dr. Mengele, like Joseph Mengele, who was just an atrocious entity, that he was stupid. To give you a
Oh,
much more light-hearted example, someone like Ben Carlson, who is one of the most prominent neurosurgeons in the world,
mm.
and he's a young Earth creationist. So they can't go, he's intellectually inferior because the man managed to split like conjoined twins at the head for the
Yeah.
first time ever. So can't say he's stupid. Can't say he's like has a moral deficiency because it doesn't pertain even to the position at hand. Right? So they just go, oh, no, you know how someone is very smart in one thing, a genius in one thing, and then they makes them retarded for everything else. Right? So they had to go to the third step.
Okay. Yeah, I actually was explaining that that's amazing. It's amazing how often this happens. But I was explaining this very topic to my daughters
Mhm.
yesterday, I think, that IQ isn't a virtue. I was trying to
No,
explain that to them, and that it doesn't confer virtue or anything else, and
no.
often quite the opposite.
It
Right.
will compound whatever your morals are.
Hmm.
So if you're evil, it's going to make you more dangerous.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather have a stupid evil person be after me than a genius evil person.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
But that's
You're
what
a
they
bigot if you don't want it. First of all, I'm not a bigot. But second, that's kind of not the point. The point is, what's in it for us? Why is this a good idea? Shut up. And it's exactly the style of argument that I voted against, and I will never accept it. I don't care who does it. I will never accept that. Give me a legitimate answer, a reasonable answer, a sincere answer, a good faith answer. We may disagree. You may say, as a good friend of mine who's like totally deranged, but a good person said to me yesterday, Iran is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. You know, reading the talking point that apparently everyone, a bumper sticker that is for sale somewhere, I guess. And I'm like, okay, I don't even know what that means exactly, but how many Americans have been killed by Shia terrorism in my lifetime, which is 56 years? I can't think of any. I'm sure there have been some in the United States. There have been Shia terror attacks sponsored by Iran in the US. I can't think of any. There was 9/11. That was a Sunni terror attack. And then there's the drug epidemic, which has killed more than 1 million people during that same period. People I know, my next door neighbor's kid, dead. People, a bunch of people I know have died. And a bunch have been totally screwed up and taken out of life, basically. Their lives have been hollowed out. They're husks. They've been totally destroyed by drugs. That's the reality that I live in the United States. So you're telling me Iran is a bigger threat than the people peddling this garbage? I don't think so. Not where I live, it's not. Oh, shut up. And the person literally said, you know, we're gonna have to agree to disagree. Disagree with what? What are you even talking about? But at least he gave me an answer. He didn't say, oh, you hate so-and-so. He didn't go immediately to motive. Okay, so this is always the tell. This is when you know you're dealing with someone who has zero interest in getting to the truth of the question and instead is trying to make you be quiet in order to roll over you and make you obey. And the tell is when they go immediately to motive. Well, you just hate some group, or you're taking money from some other group. And neither one happens to be true in my case, but I always feel like saying, well, okay, what if I am getting paid? Or what if I have some kind of creepy bigotry? Which I don't, because I think it's immoral. God created individuals, each one knows the hairs on your head, each person has a soul. No person is seen by God as a member of a group. Each person is seen by God as an individual. So
A wise man once told me we're all made in the image of God, just some of us more so.
I don't like that, and I really don't.
High
I'm not just saying
resolution.
that, and I mean every individual on the planet, regardless of what he looks like or what he believes. That is true of every person, and I sincerely mean that. But even if I didn't, maybe I was some like full wacko, and maybe I was like taking tons of money from some bad country, one of the bad countries you're not allowed to talk about or like. Qatar! That's the most hilarious.
I want to start practicing a laugh.
Qatar is kind of...
I don't think I even have it in my range. Yeah.
Even I don't. My voice is significantly higher than yours, but I can't quite do
Yeah,
it.
yeah. There's that guy who does Tucker Carlson impressions on Instagram.
Oh yeah,
I think.
he's excellent. It's so funny.
Yeah, so he doesn't do the regular voice very well. He gets the cadences very good, very much like the way Tucker speaks. But then when he switches into the high range, it's perfect. So yeah, and by the way, all the people saying Qatar, 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 do people not know that Qatar is a U.S. ally and has a massive, military installations there?
Yeah.
So maybe
They really don't. I don't think they think any of it through. I was in a conversation with an Irish American there on Twitter yesterday, who was sort of making fun of the Irish for being sort of having support or sort of just being. They frame it as that we just love Palestinians, where it's more like that we just really aren't that into ethnic cleansing.
Yeah.
So
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, right. So, and he comes at me and he's like, I have it here in front of me. Irish Americans do not support the Palestinians at all, right? And I was like, well, I know a few that do. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, why are you trying to take this kind of all Irish Americans feel this way stance?
Yeah, bumper
And
sticker.
his response to it was, Israel is our friend and ally. The thing about Irish Americans, people like me, with grandparents who came here in 1852, is we feel strongly about our Irish roots, but we're patriot Americans. Israel has America's back. The Arab
So
world.
he doesn't even have the decency to be Irish. Irish.
Yeah.
He's like a transplant.
And he says the Arab world has shown time and again that they don't have our back.
Do you know who has not had Ireland's back except against a wall for a lot of?
Well, I responded to him. I said, "Your parents arrived in America in 1852. That means they fled a situation where a large neighboring country imposed a man-made famine and brutalized the people who refused to accept the foreign ownership of their land."
Yep.
Like, at the time, even at that time, a bunch of American politicians, a bunch of countries, including Turkey and a few others around the world, called out the situation.
I think Turkey was the only one that actually sent aid.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was recognized as a man-made humanitarian crisis, and people will still make fun of it now. They'll say,
There wasn't a shortage of food.
no,
Like they were still exporting it.
yeah. People say the potato famine, and you'll hear people go, what was going on? Like, why didn't they just eat something else? It's like, it's like,
But it was the Whig Party at the time, and we can't disturb the markets, right, by diverting exports into food. So I want to address this. Jim Bob does a good impression of Tucker's laugh. I spoke to Jim Bob about this, but Jim Bob doesn't like to do exact impressions. He did a much more exact impression of either Shapiro or Peterson, then intentionally made it slightly worse, because the idea isn't to do exact impressions, but make it fully crazy, because that's where he thrives.
I discovered Jim Bob through back when he was doing a very accurate impression of Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. And he, as I told you, he intentionally made it less.
I remember. I actually didn't. I liked. It's funny. I was one of the people who was like, "No, don't ruin it."
Yeah. But he prefers to keep it like a bit inaccurate, so it's more obviously a silly impression. So he does that intentionally. He's very good at recognizing patterns, like in speech. But that was what was great about his impression of Peterson. He could riff in a way that Peterson spoke, like so word choice and patterns, where you're not just repeating a barcode and stuff like that. So it's really, really a great impression. But that's why I say he intentionally makes it less accurate. It's funnier too.
All right, before I press play, everybody, don't forget co-fi.com/Baron Redneck. It's down the bottom left. It's down. Where is it? Down here. And then up here, you can see we have a threatening dono goal. It says support or else.
Yeah, and I have to sing an Irish song every time we reach the goal.
Exactly.
One day we will have Baron sing a Serbian song, and it's going to be great.
Oh my goodness! Me singing at all would already be terrible.
I'll find an easier one. Don't worry. I'll be compromising. As in, I'll be compromising you.
yeah. I think I'd almost prefer to do, like, I don't know, some kind of a dance than I'd like to sing, but I'll give it a go. Don't. I'm not dancing. Just to be clear.
Yeah, I get it. As I said, we'll get something.
Yeah, of course.
Controlling our conversation, Qatar. Evil Qatar. I am laughing. I've actually been to Qatar. It's awesome. Never taken $1 from the Qataris or the Qataris or whatever they're called. It's a great country. But whatever. But even if I was like on the payroll of Qatar, which I guess I can't now. But anyway, even if I was, it still wouldn't make the question any less relevant. Why is this a good idea? And their refusal to answer that question lets you know right away that you are not dealing with a person of good faith. You're dealing with a propagandist who is trying to control you. And I would say at exactly that point, that's when you say out loud, I know who you are. This is all fake. You can't even answer the question. You're trying to make me shut up because I'm a bigot, like the liberals did 7 months ago. Yep. And that's why we voted them out. So I'm not putting up with that. I voted against this and I won't tolerate it. So the second point I would make, before maybe taking a couple of your hostile questions, I hope about Qatar, is I was brooding about this today. What about the Epstein story is so uniquely infuriating?
Crowder with his first world problems here. He's got to go because he's got a second round of sauna for the day. Enjoy.
Crushing.
Enjoy, Crowder.
Our thoughts and prayers are with you during this trying time.
And I'll just say, I mean, I've never met Epstein, but I mean, I know a million people who knew Jeffrey Epstein. It is true that he was around. Like, everyone knew Jeffrey Epstein. I don't think I was cool enough to actually meet him, but like, he was just a guy who was kind of circulating around, like this rich guy who knew everybody. What is it, and everyone knew he was a creep, but then there are a lot of creeps in that world, just telling you what you probably know already. What is it about Jeffrey Epstein that's so infuriating to people, so infuriating that it's actually causing seismic political problems, and I hope that they'll address it and it'll get better, I really do. But what is it? I'll tell you what it is. It's the frustration of normal people watching a certain class of people get away with everything every single time. That's what it is.
Every single time.
Every single time. Is it that though? Or is it actually the particular type of thing that's been gotten away with?
I think people tolerate a certain level of corruption, but now, to preface this, as I said in the first time we addressed this, regular people aren't too concerned with this. Regular people mostly care about the economy and crime. That's their principal concern. If those are going well, they will tolerate basically anything. They don't have time to talk about political philosophies or have revolutionary, tendencies or anything. Most people just do not really care about it. That's very unfortunate, but it's also true. But as far as you're going to, so that's why you had this huge uprising where under the Biden administration, because people were getting really, really frustrated with the illegal immigration, especially the laxity with which criminals were dealt with, especially in like liberal cities and stuff. Soaring crime rates, inflation rates, that's what gets people. That's what they really, really care about. You look at like the rating, the viewership rates of these, what are they called, like mainstream media or whatever. They're pathetic. No one gets over 1 million, I think. Tucker did. I think they're all in the high. That means that the most influential person there doesn't get even close to 1% of the American population. Again, the legal American population is around 340 million. Someone should tell Ted Cruz about that. But probably it doesn't even matter. But 1% of that is going to be what? It's going to be 3 million. 3.4, right? So no one gets even that. And I'm saying because people say, oh, Rachel Maddow, Rachel Mad Cow, more like, she she gets not 1%, but so it doesn't matter how radicalizing she is, she's not getting the views. So if you think even the mainstream media talking about this is going to rile up the general population, it's just ridiculous. There is no such thing as the will of the people. right? People tend to just want to live a normal life, just want to have a decent job. And as Tucker is going to explain, one very radicalizing thing is people can't afford to buy a house.
Mm.
So that's what's going to get you, all revolutionary. The fact that it is also a very disgusting crime is most people don't even think about. They all really think like, yeah, they're a bunch of perverts.
Mm.
So they don't have high expectations. And but I think it's just the economy and crime for most people. That's what they care about.
And that drives me absolutely bonkers. By the way, it's one of the things that bothers me about immigration. You know, as someone who got arrested in Syracuse, New York as a kid because I had an expired driver's license and brought to a cell, I'm watching people come, that actually happened. I have done time, it does change a man. Yes, I joined a gang. But I watch, 60 million people come into the country illegally or overstay their fake refugee status or whatever. I mean, the whole thing's a scam. And they get housing vouchers and free education and free cell phones and plane tickets. It's like, wait a second, not only are they not getting punished for breaking American law, as I would and have, they're getting rewarded for it. The unfairness of it drives you crazy. And it's particularly galling in the case of Jeffrey Epstein and the whole constellation of people around Jeffrey Epstein, all of whom seem to be getting away with scams. And how do you know they're getting away with scams? I'll tell you how, because they're useless and they're rich. So how do you come to a place where some of the least impressive, most useless people who have no actual skills become billionaires? How's that legitimate? And by the way, if you ask this question, at least in Washington, it's like, oh, well, yeah, it sounds like you're a socialist. Sounds like socialism. Yeah, okay, I'm a socialist now. All right. I was a Qatari agent or a bigot. Now I'm a socialist. All right. Leaving aside my committed socialism, can you answer the question? How did Bill Ackman get $9 billion? Bill Ackman, a pretty impressive guy? I know Bill Ackman. No. Bill Ackman's like well-connected and super aggressive. That's it. And I think, well-connected, super aggressive people deserve a fair living like everybody else. But if you're accruing $9 million just because you're willing to do anything, I don't know why we have to pretend that's good. How did Epstein get 4 Gulf Streams? How did he get an island, a massive ranch in New Mexico, the biggest house in New York? Like, what is that? Like, at some point, the basic economics really matter. And they matter because, not that it's bad that rich people are getting richer, it's bad that everyone else is getting poorer. And it's especially bad that young people can't afford homes. Let me just put a very precise point on this. If you want a measure of how your economy is doing, I personally favor eliminating GDP as a measure. I don't even know what that is. It's clearly not relevant. They tell me Japan has a stagnant GDP. Have you been to Tokyo? It's the single most radicalizing experience you'll ever have because it's just so nice. You lost the war? Really? Can we lose a war and wind up like this? GDP. No. I don't know what even that is. The total economic activity. Oh, no. My measure is really simple. I got a bunch of kids. Can they afford houses with full-time jobs at like 27, 28? And the answer is no way. And the answer is that 35-year-olds with really good jobs can't afford a house unless they stretch and go deep into debt. And I just think that's a total disaster. That's a complete disaster. Why? 2 reasons. One, if people don't own things, they don't feel ownership of the country they're in. And the country gets super volatile because people feel like they've got nothing to lose. When you have a lawn, trust me, you're thinking long term. Second, it's really hard to have a family without a house. It is. It's like super fun to live in an apartment if, there's like a bar downstairs, you're in a cool neighborhood. I'm in East Village, it's so cool. Try to have 3 kids. You're not gonna have 3 kids there, you can't. Nobody wants to raise their kids in that neighborhood. Nobody wants to raise their kids in an apartment. People do it because they have to, nobody wants to. People want a little house, not some McMansion, just a little normal house. That is the actual American dream. And that is what is totally unattainable for young people. And so the only young people in general that you will ever meet who have houses are young people whose parents help them. And God bless their parents. That's a perfectly great thing to do for your kids. But most people's parents can't afford to do that because they're already in debt from their pointless college degree. So that is a national emergency. And I know that there are certain cable channels that are spending all this time talking about, they're about to elect a socialist in New York City, which obviously I'm opposed to it. He's not even a real socialist. He's like a trainee vax, rich kid liberal guy. Mom Donnie. He's a fake leftist, but whatever. Why do you think that's happening? One of the reasons it's happening is because normal people with normal jobs no longer believe they can win in this system, and that all the money is going to the worst people. And no one even stops to ask, what the hell is going on? How did Bill Ackman get so rich? I mean, I know he went on CNBC and talked down Herbalife. Bet against companies by driving down their stock prices. That's what he's been accused of. I'm not accusing him here because he's sue me if I do. I'm just suggesting others believe that might have happened. He's already threatened to sue me for saying that. But there are plenty of people who do that. And I'm not saying even that it should be illegal. What I'm saying is that our leadership class should say something about it and should assign a moral value to it. And if you're getting rich by loaning money to people at incredibly high interest rates, that's something you're gonna have to talk to God about. That is not good. That is not virtuous. That's disgusting. And the fact that nobody feels free to say that, nobody feels like you can just say 30% on a credit card? Why is anybody paying a credit card bill? I said to somebody recently, I feel like I'm very moderate and sensible and, well, yeah, that's what.
The credit card situation in America is insane.
Yeah.
My wife watches, what's he called? He's an old boomer who likes to talk about people's personal finances. Oh, she might be listening and she'll say it. Any Americans there? An old Christian boomer who tells people how to save money. He has a system and a course and a bunch of different books. I've forgotten what he's called.
Is it GameStop? To
No.
invest in games?
No. I'm sure there's people in the chat who actually know exactly who I'm talking about.
Ramsey?
Dave Ramsey.
Okay, I'm vaguely aware of Dave Ramsey.
Yeah, so Dave Ramsey, he, what was I saying? Oh yeah. When you start to watch episodes of his, what you start to realize is Americans have crazy quantities of debt, crazy quantities where you can't even imagine how would you move forward from this. People ring in with $1 million of debt, and you're like, what? How much do you earn a year? Oh, well, he has 100 grand a year and I'm earning 50 grand a year, and it's and you're in $1 million of debt. And it'll be like, well, how many credit cards? 12 credit cards.
They just get a new credit card.
It's just, the credit card situation over there is absolutely insane. Insane.
Yes, and again, interest rates are double digit and not just 11, 12. They go to 30%. That I've never owned a credit card. I only have a debit card. I don't see a reason, you can get a loan. Why would you do it with a credit card? It seems that this idea of convenience has been drilled into them intentionally.
Yeah.
To get
it's just acceptable within their culture. Debt just seems to be part of how you go about
later.
I
mean, what? Debt also for colleges and stuff like that is just insane. I think I mentioned this. We have a pretty good system for education. Have a number of people, so you can have people do this, right? Statisticians. How many, doctors you would need in a year? Then you have, a particular number of spots in colleges that the government will fund your position. You have an additional number that you can pay for, and that's it. So you get the numbers you need for free, and obviously you get in by having your grades evaluated from high school. And then you also have entry exams. That gets added up, and you get ranked, and you either get in and pay for free, or you can, again, to a certain extent, you have to have over 51 points. That I won't get into it, but you have to have over 51 points to even qualify for self-financing, as we call it.
Okay.
And then the number of spots that can be filled in that college, and that's it.
Yeah, we have a similar system. We have a system where merit is the only way to get you in.
Yeah. But then you go to the US and you pay these insane sums of money, and there's no guarantee you'll get a job from it. But it's basically like you have to do it, and you can't default on that debt. You can serve in the military to have it forgiven, by the way.
Hmm.
Not suspicious at all. Hey, we got
Justin
Just
Henley,
because I,
just
Justin
because
Henley
I
says,
owed
just
you
because
these
I
5
owed you
euros
these
credit
5
chips
euros
doesn't
credit
mean I have a
chips doesn't
crazy
mean I
amount of
have a
debt.
crazy amount of debt.
5.
5
paid
euro.
with his 7th credit card.
Thank you so much, Justin Henley. See? Support or else, everybody. Don't forget. Support or else.
Yeah, and you see it does display what he said in the chat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
And it popped up at the top as well. But it doesn't call it out yet. I'm going to fix that once I get into OBS. I want to have it so it's a text to speech because that's just fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, the debt situation's crazy. Anybody who is in debt, maybe check out Dave Ramsey. He might help
I
you
think
out.
I know him. I think I've heard like people calling, like, say, I'm a Christian, but with the rates rising, I have to raise rent for my tenants. Is that okay? And he said, well, listen, if this is what you do, you have to do it. Otherwise, it's a charity, and you can't live off of charity.
Yeah.
It's good to be a Christian and to try and be as fair as you can. But again, if someone is a farmer, like they can't just give away all their food because that's their source of income. There's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with charging for labor.
Silver Pie says rice and beans. Now, I'm pretty sure that's probably one of his expressions. He tells people, get a job delivering pizza. You're eating rice and beans for the next few weeks. Like that kind of thing, like he's like, he tries to like break it down for people. It's like, they don't even want to sell their like 2025 car that they have on lease. And he's like, no. You're selling that. You're getting a beat up old Camry and you're delivering pizzas. Like, and you're going to keep working. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, it's good. It's good advice.
Yeah. People need to hear such things because apparently it's so predatory. Like they are getting credit cards for college children who are already amassing debt for college, and I don't know if you know this. They're lowering the age of voting in Britain to 16. That's new.
They just announced that. That didn't. There was no talk.
Yeah, you know who I really want to hear from on matters of politics? 16-year-olds.
16-year-olds. Yeah.
God.
It should have been raised.
Yes.
To like 35 or something.
I go with 30. I would. I'm probably more informed than most people.
Yeah, you're under 35, but the average person your age.
Right, and that's what I have to think about. So I call the vote the Messiah token, the Messiah complex token. Like people believe that they're saving the world by voting. I don't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm aware if I'm some type of bloody above average, Lord help us all. Because what does it matter if I get the right to vote if 10 other people who know nothing also get the right to vote?
Yeah. Land ownership. We need some stipulations. I think you should have to have children. You should have to have land. Maybe not the land thing, but the children thing. There's got to be some kind of stipulation beyond.
You can't have land ownership because
it's so rare now.
You're right. It's urbanized.
Yeah.
What, having like an acre of a lawn?
That's why I thought it. But you need to have something that shows you're in some way invested in the future of the country and not just in the next year. And this is what you hear.
He's going to be making points, and then we will comment.
Okay.
To call it was forbidden. I said to someone recently, we really need a political party where people just like, it's the, hey, I'm not paying my credit card bill party. And let's just bring down Citibank. Just not permanently, maybe permanently. But credit card debt is the single biggest cause of human suffering that I'm aware of in the United States. It's not Iran. Iran's not doing that. Oh, you, a tool of the Ayatollah. No, I'm actually Episcopalian, not Shiite. Not a tool of the Ayatollah. I'm just very committed to observing physical reality and drawing my conclusions from that. I'm what we call a physicalist. I believe in the things right in front of me, the things I can touch and smell. And the people I can touch and smell are suffering not from Iran, not from Qatar. They're suffering from their credit cards and their inability of their kids to buy a house. Yeah.
Amen.
I don't think Dan Crenshaw is sold on this. Dan Crenshaw believes our threats are in other countries. Okay, they may be, but how are they bigger than credit card interest? So I suggested to this person, who's a really good guy, I was like, hey, why don't we start, I'm not gonna pay my credit card bill party, or I'm not gonna pay my mortgage. You know, because they always say, like, if the very rich, if you borrow enough from a bank, you're kind of in charge of the bank because they need you to pay them back, so they're totally happy to negotiate terms with you. But if you borrow a little bit from the bank, they'll just take your house away. So what if people got together and just decided, wait a second, 30% interest is a lot, especially since they're pushing credit cards on kids like crack. And I know that conservatives are always like, well, it's your fault if you don't pay back the credit card. Yeah, okay, it's my fault, but maybe it's a little bit their fault too. They're pushing this crap on kids. So I say to this guy, maybe just people get together, not like everybody, but just a couple million people are not gonna pay our credit cards, and just like bring the bank to its knees, and the CEO weeps on television, they readjust it down a little bit. And he goes, oh, no, that's radical. That's too radical. And I'm like, I don't think I'm very radical. I think I'm like very moderate, super moderate. I hate change. My parents got divorced. I hate change. I like things to be exactly the same every day. I'm not radical.
That's me.
What I am is very worried that if we don't do something really soon, we're gonna wind up like New York City. That there's gonna be actual radicalism. And that radicalism will take very unhelpful forms. And
It's funny to think that back in the 80s, the 90s even, when people would make speeches like this, Americans maybe would make speeches like this, they'd say, if we're not careful, we're going to end up like China. You know, we're going to end up like Africa. Now they're saying we're going to end up like New York.
You're going to see race and ethnic hatred that's real, and that you're going to see people behaving in hard to control ways. If you deny people what they actually want long enough, and instead substitute things that you claim they should want, like bombing Iran, you know, I mean, I'm not for Iran, where you spend all day telling me that it's so important that, you know, boys not playing girls' soccer teams or whatever. I agree. I hate the tranny stuff passionately. I think you should keep the boys off girls' soccer teams. But I don't know. It kind of feels like you're feeding me appetizers. At some point, I want to look around and see a better country. I want to see a country I recognize. I don't want to see people sleeping on the sidewalk. I don't see people ODing on drugs. I want to know where those drugs coming from. Why can't you stop it? You've got the US military. Don't you have SEAL Team 6? Like, what are they doing today? Don't you have Delta Force? You could give me another segment about how impressive the US military is? I believe you. Why aren't they employed to make my country better? Why are my cities disgusting? I don't even want to go there. It smells like weed and halal food. And you're lecturing me about how it's a great moral victory that I kicked the boys off the girls' soccer team? Good, I'm so glad. But let's do the real stuff, like making New York livable and create an economy where my kids can have kids. How about this? How about we just make the measure really super simple? Can my children have without the benefit of like the great luck I have had, can they have a roughly approximate life that I had? Or how about just a middle-class life? Can they like get married young, as I did, and like have 4 kids and, you know, take a couple jobs, work hard and all that stuff? But in the end, it's like, fine. Can they do that? Or is that like so remote a possibility that you need to tell me that Iran is the real threat, take my mind off the fact that you stole all the money and screwed up my country beyond recognition? So I guess what I would say before I have an actual aneurysm is, unless we say to the people in charge, we are going to determine what's important, you need to listen to us, your voters, about what we actually care about. I'll take a lecture for about 10 minutes. I can do that. I went to school. You know, I'm used to sitting there and being like, oh, yeah, okay, the Axis powers, that's so important. Thank you for telling me. I can take a lecture for about 10 minutes, and they're like telling me Iran is the greatest sponsor of terrorism. Okay, that's great. I hate Iran, got it. But at some point, I want to pipe up and say, yeah, but what are you going to do about Union Station in Washington, D.C., which is filled with passed out drug addicts with spreading urine stains? Like, it wasn't that way. I was here. How did that happen, and why aren't you fixing it? And by the way, if you don't fix it or even acknowledge it, dude, bad things could happen. Like, wake up. Time is to wake up out of your freaking fantasy world where you think telling the rest of us to shut up is enough. If you keep doing that, you know, this could go in dark direction. So I think it's so important for every person to look around and make your own decisions about what's important. What's important to you? What around you in your life? What do you see in your family, among your friends, in the town that you live in that's going wrong? Those are the biggest problems. Not what some shill on television is telling you your biggest problems are. He can shut up, but he won't. But look around. What's the biggest problem in your life? And if you're burdened by a car loan or some credit card payment you can never actually make, if you can't afford to make the full payment on your credit card 2 months in a row, that's a crisis, okay? That's a crisis. If you're in the hole to DraftKings to a point where you can't pay, no, I'm serious. These are huge problems, and most of them are money related. And if they're not solved, you're not getting married, and you're not having children, and you're not gonna have a happy, fulfilling life, period. And they tell you, oh, it's all about values. Yeah, okay, values. You can't afford a house? I don't care what your values are like. You're not having 4 kids in an apartment. So you need to be heard on that. And anyone who tells you, oh, shut up, racist, hoist the middle finger and tell them, keep talking to me that way, pal, and we'll punish you. Anyway, sorry, excuse me. Do we have any hostile questions about Qatar? Yes. Well, that's so nice. Tell your mom I love her. Okay, your mom does too. Any questions? Yes, sir.
So this is now switching into a Q&A. We can maybe get some from it. But an excellent speech. I don't know if you caught the System of a Down reference from Crutter.
Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Not sure how big of a fan you are. They're Armenian, if you didn't know. A lot of their songs are about the Armenian genocide and stuff. But pretty writing, it's very pedestrian in terms of terminology, right? Which is, I'm not against that. I know I'd have, had some roaring speech and added fancy words. That's what I would do. But I'm not Tucker Carlson, and I'm not addressing, young people who are getting interested in politics. And I think that what can happen, certainly, is things are pushing more populist in general, on both the left and the right. But now leftists always think they're populists, even though when they have the most elitist attitudes known to man, like you talked about, no, if they say they're they're an aardvark, they're an aardvark, two spirits and stuff. But there is actual left-wing populism, people like Jimmy Dore. He's like, I don't care about the trans stuff. People can't afford things. And as we said earlier, or at least I believe, that there is people are interested in 2 things primarily, and that's the economy and crime. And those 2 are very related. More so that crime pushes poverty than poverty produces crime. Just to be clear, because you can't have businesses in a crime-ridden area. So people get poorer, and there is no way out unless you clean up criminality. That's what happened in New York, right? You had Rudy Giuliani step in. So you got a Republican in New York, was very tough on crime. And New York was just a hellscape, like in the 80s, as far as that is concerned. And then the 90s were peak for criminality in America. But he cleaned it up, and things started working again. But then you get the libtards back. And oh my gosh, we shouldn't punish people for being poor and stealing a loaf of bread, right? That's what criminality is in the mind of the leftists. and you need to have those two things: the economy and crime need to be under control on a country level. You need also to take care of, for example, illegal immigration. What are you doing? You're pumping up artificially, prices because there's more people, right? So you're getting an increase in demand, and not getting a lot of increase in supply, by the way.
No.
Because especially in places where they have those zoning laws and stuff, and in California, you have to make sure a particular type of cricket doesn't get harmed. So you need some permission from environmental departments to get a permission to build, and this costs a lot of money and months to get permissions. So you don't get an increase in supply, you get an increase in demand. It's a very simple law of nature, not just economy. That means value goes up. So it's outstandingly unfortunate, but if you do something to fix it, and Trump has made good progress on like the immigration stuff, it's not as simple as just start deporting millions of people. That's not easy. You need more than 1 million people to deport 1 million people, right? He gave them like an out with like you get a ticket and $1,000, just leave, go away, right? And a lot of people are taking that, which is why I think the crackdown has been so overt and aggressive. So you offer the carrot, but then you offer the stick, and you get a pretty big stick to get people to accept the carrot.
Yeah.
And I think so. There is progress there, and we will see what happens on the economic front. There's threats about secondary sanctions on Russia, which means getting sanctions on people who buy stuff from Russia, primarily China and India, who are buying their petrol and gas. That's very stupid. And I think it's just posturing, because things are getting progressively worse in Ukraine, for Ukraine. Russia's been ramping up attacks. They're trying to seal the deal as soon as possible. They have all the advantages in manpower, in supplies, in air superiority, in artillery munitions. Now they've overtaken even in drone superiority, which Ukraine really put a lot of focus on. They invented like a very thin fiberglass string so that you can't jam the drones, right? Because they have an actual physical connection. So we will see how that happens, how that winds down. About Gaza, I have no idea what can happen. In Colombia, there's like 21 countries gathering there to try and figure out how to stop it. But if those things work well, then you can focus on like national policy. That would be great. So the whole Epstein thing really could decrease enthusiasm for voting, even though I think, again, people don't care about it too much in the general populace. So let's hope. Europe is just insane at the moment. We talked about Britain and Germany. Like they seem to be insane. So yeah, getting people to self-deport has been the best way. The last status was 700K plus people have self-deported. I've heard even 1 million.
Yeah, it's definitely a great way to do it, and you could see why somebody would.
Yeah.
What's shocking to me, like the fact that there's pushback at all to the stick, as you called it, to coming in hard on people. There, like in Ireland and in Europe in general, I guess we have a problem before that, where we have people claiming that these people are just as Irish as anybody else, But once you've gotten past that problem and you have a government in power who's willing to deport, and then you have people complaining that they're deporting, I don't understand the logic behind it. Sure, like it's a criminal offense, and surely like you can understand that if people are in your country, like people can't just come and stay. This is a very simple idea.
Yeah. Well, the additional problem, like illegal immigration, like it's far worse than legal immigration. You can be against legal one as well,
Mm.
but illegal immigration,
Yeah, where's your defense?
right? And here's the thing: during the coof epidemic, pandemic, whatever, we had to carry little nappies on our faces and stay 6 feet apart, like 2 meters.
Mm.
So we had to make sure we constantly wash our hands and not go outside. But then we're getting illegal immigrants. I mean, we're not getting a lot. They have sometimes they go through Serbia, but they don't want to stay. So now we're talking about the US. So the same liberati, as they call them, who were so concerned about the COVID thing, don't seem to care that you're getting illegal immigrants from all over the world who may have pathogens of diseases that are completely endemic to those places.
Mm.
If you want to visit Indochina or Africa or South America, you will be told you can't unless you take either a vaccine or for some of the diseases that exist there. And you're like, well, I can risk it. No, because you can get it there, then come back here.
Mm.
And I mean serious diseases, tropical diseases. So it's not, oh no, I got a cold. And no, you can get the plague. People do. So, right.
You're not bringing the Black Death. Like,
not to be discourteous, I'd rather have you not bring the Black Death back to Europe. Right, and they say, "What you're saying? Illegal immigrants are just disease-bearing, like the plague marines or something."
mm-hmm.
Like the adherents of just getting more like adherents of Nurgle. Like, no, the problem is you don't know if they do. If they were coming in legally, this wouldn't be nearly as much of a concern.
Mm-mm.
Because there are channels and precautions taken for such things. But we don't know, right? We don't know if they're criminals. If you have a legal process, you have to make sure to provide if you have had any previous convictions or whatever, right? So you don't know who's coming. That's the biggest issue of them all, right? It's not just the numbers, it's the quality of the people arriving. They could be the best people ever. They could all be, bearing the Black Plague. You don't know. And you're introducing potentially very dangerous pathogens to people who don't have any antibodies to. But the coup was the biggest thing ever. You couldn't leave your house because of it.
Yeah.
And we know what happens when you you introduce a new pathogen to a population that has no immunity to it. We know what happens. We've seen it, especially in the Americas.
Yeah, that example is constantly thrown in Americans' faces, right? By the same people who will then tell you that you're being ridiculous. They'll say, "Look what happened with smallpox."
Yeah. That's sort of like the example you gave with that Irish American fellow talking about Israel. Like, do you know how silly you sound?
Yeah. You're literally like, it's a very frustrating thing, but it doesn't. It's that blindness seems to cross every single conversation. It's quite the bizarre thing. It's one of the strangest parts about living in the time that we live in.
Yes, people are very simplistic, and everyone believes they have a voice, and that voice should be heard. And I guess technically it is the case, but no one wants to take on the responsibility of actually doing research, learning history, because there is more history than the Second World War. I promise people, there is more history than those 6 years.
Yeah, there's the Irish history.
Right.
That's it, right?
But that's about it.
Yeah.
There's
Okay,
Ireland and then the Hitler. and yeah, when our immigrants start handing out blankets.
I'm heading for the hills. Yeah.
So again, we've seen also alligator Alcatraz. Have you seen
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, big stick, and the carrot doesn't have to be big, but it should be there. Sure, you don't want to give people $1,000, but again, we talked about it. It's much cheaper than any alternative,
It's
other
pretty
than just
cheap.
politely asking them to leave, which probably not very effective.
Yeah, I'll round up €10,000 to get rid of 10 foreigners from Ireland. Like,
Donate to Baron Redneck.
all right, guys, if you donate here, right, I promise I will put all funds towards deporting foreigners from Ireland.
Right,
If
and yeah.
Go on.
Well, I'm just happy to see that this trend is rising, and because I'm, if you want to go fully, I am a monarchist. But as far as in practice, right now, what I would support is what we call paleoconservatism. Right? Very, very. It's not isolationist. It's non-interventionist. I'm very much against war. I am for more of a type of social democracy. It works fine. Are you there? You don't seem to be there. Yeah, I can see the your internet isn't doing too well, but yeah. Well, there we go. His socially democratic internet isn't working out. But yeah, I hate the whole, if you have welfare, then, we have to triple lock it or whatever means testing they do. And then they turn it into a less effective thing with worse outcomes, as in, like, costs more, which is it's astounding to me. But you have to keep it like, oh, that's socialism. It's, they said, it's one step from the gulag every time you want to invest something into your fellow citizens. No, we need to defend, like, capitalism. Capitalism is a very flexible term and has shown itself to work in different ways on different levels. So sure, I'm not for high taxes. I'm for taxes being as low as possible. But I think having a national healthcare system, which in the United States might need to be state level rather than national level, because again, I'd much prefer that, to see that rather. But for places like Serbia or Ireland, right, a national healthcare service works pretty well, and you don't get fleeced every time you sprain an ankle. It's awful what we're seeing, and that's what gets people radicalized. Not speeches, not because they read the Communist Manifesto. Is that people are very happy to go along with the system if they feel comfortable in it. The moment criminality gets too rampant, or you can't afford to live decently, that all goes out the window. I don't know if we have you back yet.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. My whole computer crashed that time. So last time it was, so there's something up clearly.
Well, I see the little, Wi-Fi symbols in the bottom left corner, and you keep hovering at about 1 to 2 bars at most.
And I don't understand why, because actually I have really, really fast internet.
Are you Wi-Fi connected or Ethernet cable?
Ethernet.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, there's something clearly amiss, right? So I'm gonna have to sort that out, but whatever. For
Okay,
the moment, let's just get this back.
right. So we were at the point of the Q&A. Let me check that video to see if it's been segmented. Because we might. I know there's one I'd love to address.
I'll just press play while you're looking.
And tell him,
Right.
keep talking to me that way, pal, and we'll punish you. Anyway, sorry, excuse me. Do we have any hostile questions about Qatar? Yes. Well, that's so nice. Tell your mom I love her. Okay, your mom does too. Any questions? Yes, sir. What do I think about amnesty for farm workers? I think it's the most grotesque thing I've ever heard. Are you joking? Amnesty for farm workers? We have like 60 million illegal aliens in the country. The country bears no resemblance to the country I grew up in, and it's not better, it's worse.
Yell at Tucker.
So I'm not gonna sit for another lecture from anybody telling me we need to import more people to write code or pick grapes or any other task, period. It hasn't worked, the country hasn't gotten richer, it hasn't become more unified. Those words should burn on the tongue of anyone who utters them. How dare you talk like that? Amnesty. How about deportation? What about that? I mean,
We all know he's
look,
just talking
and
about
let me
Bulgaria.
just say, people say all kinds of things. It doesn't mean it's happening. But I think it's worth being a little paranoid about it. I mean, I think everyone in this room is paranoid. It's important to make sure even the people you love are true to their word. Doesn't mean you hate them. Again, I don't take my kids at their, I love my kids more than anything. I don't automatically believe everything they tell me because I'm not a moron. Because I understand that people don't always say the truth. So, but anyway, yeah, any kind of amnesty is not only a bad idea, it's like outrageous. Anyway, sorry.
So we will check out the next question as well. And then it's maybe just then the one after that we can skip because we have titles of the segment. So this one was about farm workers, illegal farm workers. This one is: should America allow dual citizenship?
I've been told to take the mics. I'm sorry. I know you guys have good provocative questions about Qatar, but I've been asked to talk to this guy.
How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm spun up, baby.
First off, I'd like to thank you for coming to this event. I'm 20 years old. I've been watching you for the past 12 years of my whole life. Every single night, I've always listened to you, so thank you for coming. We love to listen to your opinions, listen to you preach basically to everyone. My question is, in your opinion, we have individuals in this country that are full citizens that are also full citizens of other countries. In your opinion, how can somebody pledge allegiance
No dual citizenship.
to two countries at the same time? And is that something that we should be allowing?
I mean, I think your question says it all. Obviously, that's absurd.
The whole thing's absurd. Dual citizenship by itself makes no sense. Right? We need to bring back some kind of standard of what citizenship means versus permanent residency versus worker permits. Like in Japan, I lived in Japan. I was given herder, I'm dumb and Irish, Shane, not posh. Well, thank you very much for that, posh. When I lived in Japan, the visa system was such that I was not a permanent resident. However, as long as I worked as an engineer, I could live there forever.
Yeah, you have a worker's visa.
I had a permanent worker's visa.
Yeah.
But that was separate to being a permanent resident, which was separate again to being a citizen, right? And I had a friend there, an Australian guy actually, who was married to a Japanese woman and had kids with her, and they owned a house together and a business and everything else. And he was working towards his permanent residency, not working towards citizenship. He wasn't he was never going to be an entitled Japanese man, entitled to the full protection of the state as a Japanese man, but he would be recognized as a permanent resident, right?
Right. But because they take citizenship seriously. And why wouldn't you? But apparently Japan isn't run by people who hate the Japanese.
No.
And yeah, but, a point I love being made again, like people say, this isn't Western civilization. Communism comes from the West. The Chinese didn't invent it. The Japanese didn't either. nor did the Indians, nor did, Zimbabwe. They practiced it, didn't work out well. But at the same time, it is part of Western dialectic. That's what produced it. And it's a horrible thing, but they are really, really bad at trying to categorize things. So yeah, that's why you see Japan has its own national identity. They're very good at what they do. They have their problems, especially with the aging population, but that's how they filled up the country, by people having longevity, and then you get overcrowding because there's just not a lot of space. There's plenty of space in the US, and you can build and you can do things. They have all the resources imaginable. Japan, very resource poor,
Yeah.
as well. And look at what they're doing, because they're serious about it. When they donated to Serbia some like ambulances, and they made sure to visit to make sure they were kept clean and things.
It's insane when you're there. They building sites in the middle of a city in Japan. They have a guy hired who will spray off the wheels of the trucks when they're and the sides of the trucks when they're leaving the building site, so
Yeah.
that they don't bring dust out from the building site. That kind of thing.
Yeah. It used to be the case here. You would get punished if you were with a tractor, that you would go onto the street without cleaning your tires, and they just stop doing it. Because no one cares anymore. You get this apathy.
Yeah.
And it's horrifying to see. But the Japanese, but that's part of having like the honor culture, and not just who the hell cares.
Yeah.
And that's what's getting more and more prevalent in the West. You can also see that with like Britain used to be a massive power. They could just push out, vessel after vessel after vessel because they're a naval power, right? Germany, Wilhelm II famously saying, "Oh, I don't worry about Britain because juggernauts don't have wheels." So, but now, I don't know if you remember the scandal from a couple of years ago, like the major shipbuilding port in Scotland. They made ships that with painted on windows. That's something you expect from an African country. Okay, that's a better profile picture. But it's so dispiriting, as Tucker says. Like you can get radicalized because he also went to Moscow, and everyone thinks it's just smoke and like a sad violin playing in the background. Like, I'm just going to kill you and then overdose. Like, no, it's not. Look at Moscow. Look at St. Petersburg. And I'm not trying to compare Russia to Japan in terms of administrative skills, because I wouldn't compare anyone to Japan in administrative skills. But it's he says, why do we have to have dirty, dangerous metro stations? And it's like, and Jon Stewart said, that's the price of freedom. And to quote Tucker Carlson from this speech, up yours, buddy.
Well, Emmanuel, the word is outrageous. Not a, I don't think English is Well Emmanuel's first language. He's Mexican.
Yeah.
So outrageous is the word, which means ridiculous, completely ridiculous.
I don't know if he's righteous. I don't know if he's just messing with us because he has a funny bone. So maybe.
Yeah. But I figured I'd explain regardless.
Yeah. Okay, let's proceed to finish this off.
I quote the New Testament, but I also refer to common sense when I say that no man can serve two masters. It's not possible. I only have one wife for that reason. You say to your wife, I'm going to take another wife, but I'm going to love you just as much. Nothing's going to change. My wife's going to look at me like, no, it's one wife. Because you can only really pledge your loyalty to one person or one country. That's just a fact. And there's also a sense, and this is relevant to me, and I know you're speaking about Israel, but it's not just Israel, to be honest. I think it's a huge problem. I think anybody, by the way, who serves in a foreign military should lose his citizenship immediately. There are a lot of Americans who've served in the IDF. They should lose their citizenship. There's a lot of Americans who've served in Ukraine, and they should lose their citizenship. You can't fight for another country and remain an American, period. Obviously. I mean, it's like not even, it's so funny how all of us have been cowed into being like, oh, that's hate speech. No, it's not. You don't hear hate in my voice because there isn't any. It's just an obvious, recognition of the truth. But there's a more insidious thing, and I say it's not just Israel. I'm not just trying to like give myself cover. I'm being honest. There are a ton of countries that offer citizenship, actually, some of which I love. I have been offered citizenship in a couple different countries that I really like, and I thought about it. And then I thought, no, there's something about being lashed to the mast. Like everyone can see that America's in trouble, the demographic trends are really bad, and the country's decaying, its cities are falling apart. So you're like, oh, wow, you know, maybe I should flee. And then I'm like, my ancestors are from here. My parents are buried right across from my kitchen. I'm staying here. And the second you make that decision in your head, like, I don't care what happens to America, I will be here. It totally changes your attitude. You're like, I don't even care, it's my country. And they've been here for so long and fought in all of these wars. My ancestors, and I'm sure yours, would be totally shocked by some of the conversations. Foreign flags in the Congress? Are you joking? Get out.
People of color.
And so, no, once you decide you're all in on your country, it really changes the way you approach everything. And by the way, it should be the baseline requirement. You shouldn't be allowed to serve in government if you're not a US citizen or you're a dual citizen. Are you joking? Of course not. And I would love to know what the justification is. And of course, there isn't one, which is why they're allowed to just write you off as some sort of like freak, some internet freak, hater, Nazi, whatever. No, I'm not. Just an American who loves my country, and I think it's fair to demand that the people running my country love it every bit as much as I do.
And you can't under dual citizenship. And people totally abuse the whole dual citizenship thing. Because I looked into, I was in some forums on Reddit. Somehow Reddit has decided I'm very interested in the Irish passport Reddit. Like so I keep getting updates from people, and a lot of the updates, whatever about, you know, you've got all these people trying to become Irish citizens and so on. But one of the weird ones you get is you get Irish Americans who maybe aren't very Irish American. They're just vaguely Irish American. There's a rumor that maybe their great grandmother or something was Irish. And they're trying to find a way to they don't want to come to Ireland. They're not interested in Ireland at all. What they want is an Irish passport so that they'll have less issues traveling around Europe. Right? So they're trying to get dual citizenship to Ireland, and there'll be people advising them which loopholes they can try and jump through to get this. And it's blatant, out in the open on Reddit. People are talking about, oh yeah, if you do this and then you do this, and then if you claim that you did this, but actually you did this, and then this might get you through.
Yeah,
And
you get into, you're part of the European Union, so
yeah,
they get free access. I mean, right, people always seek loopholes, but it's no excuse to not have a very stringent system. By the way, a lot of these, you know, non-white countries, very serious about illegal immigration, including Mexico. They're not very nice about it if you try to sneak in, right? And a lot of people go to Mexico to try to get to the United States. But that's been more or less fixed, bloody hell. It took like a month or so to drastically drive the numbers down. Because guess what? If you have a border guard and you let them do their job, they're much better at it than when you don't let them do their job and actively seek to subvert you. So I'm going to jump ahead a bit, because what should America do about Cuba? I don't particularly care about that. But why aren't Americans allowed to criticize and I don't know what comes after that, but I've got a decent guess.
Interesting. Is it the British?
Probably.
The Ukraine.
Oh, damn it, this is very difficult to aim.
Oh yeah. What minute are you aiming
Iraq,
for?
Syria,
40
Libya,
point.
Gaza,
40.5.
Israel.
Someone's fine.
All great places. I'm not, attacking anybody, but I'm just saying those are thousands of miles in an ocean away. Whereas
hold on, celebration time. Someone supported with 5. Guys, this second person, now we have this, and Justin Henley have brought you up as an audience to earning 20% today. You're still on a failing grade. You're at 20%. Thank you to someone for the said nothing, but thank you very much.
Latin America is right there, and what happens there is a direct effect here in our migration patterns and in our drug importation. So, like, maybe we should focus on our own hemisphere. I think you made a powerful case for that, and I don't understand why the U.S. military is stationed in Japan, Korea. I mean, I know that you get a long answer, how we're spending $1 trillion to secure places that pose no imminent threat to us while ignoring our own continent, ignoring Mexico, which is the most hostile country in the world, the United States. Obviously, there's migrants coming through Mexico. How are they our ally? Canada, how are they our ally? Maybe we should spend some time reorienting here. So anyway, that's my answer. I'm against socialism, obviously. That's why I'm worried about our economic system, because I think we're about to get socialism if we don't pull back from this.
All right, we got one more question.
One more question.
And just before he moves on to that question, whenever you get large quantities of men holed up in a country that isn't theirs, it's a problem.
Yep.
It's a problem. That's a problem in Japan, in Okinawa, that they have the U.S. Marine base down there. And it comes up in the media from time to time that a U.S. Marine will grape somebody or...
It happened recently.
Yeah, it happened while I was there. My sister married a U.S. Marine. I'm sure I've mentioned to you so many times at this point, but while I was in Japan, he was stationed briefly in the Japanese one. So she came over to Japan and she visited him, and then she visited me. And that one of these major incidents happened, where a few guys went out and committed some kind of terrible act. And I mentioned it to her, and she read that up as some kind of anti-American sort of anti-Marine, trying to make her boyfriend at the time look bad. And I was like, no, this is a problem. Why is this base here? This keeps happening. So it's not just the people that are coming into Ireland that are a problem, or what's happening in the UK. When you take large groups of foreigners with no connection to the country that they're in, and you give them a little enclave to live in, even when they're American Marines, even when they're like anybody, they're going to cause a problem.
Yeah, I talked to someone who lives in South Korea, Orthodox, married a Korean woman and stuff, American. I asked him if he would be interested in having an interview here. He was on Jimbot's channel every so often, right? We can talk to him about that, because again, he went to Japan, but he lives in South Korea and is aware of the situation there. We can ask him. He's like a computer engineer or something. I don't want to mislabel his exact profession. But yeah, so we can talk to him at some point. But yeah, that's exactly the thing. If you're a U.S. Marine in Japan, like Okinawa, as you said, or in South Korea, a lot of people in South Korea are getting rather upset by the fact that basically their military is run by the U.S., which is, again, very dispiriting for native men now. And these things don't exactly help. So America should start pulling back, but you can always have false flags. You can always have things to make sure you keep it up. But as someone like Colonel McGregor says, if you don't have the money to uphold this, you will either retreat orderly and organizedly, or you will have to flee due to financial crashes. Which one would you rather have? And you're not going to make enough money to make this sustainable. Especially now.
I didn't know Conor McGregor was so well informed.
What did I say? I said Conor McGregor?
No. Okay. Colonel McGregor, you said. I was
okay. Fair enough. Easy thing to say. His name is Douglas McGregor. Yeah. But yeah, you see the problem, but then they want to maintain the empire. You can't. You're failing and wasting so much money for nothing. And you actually,
it's doing your people no good.
it's doing them an active disservice.
Mm.
And it's additionally a problem that we talked about, the fact that now you have missiles by the Iranians, including just by the Houthis,
Mm.
right? Sufficient to be a problem for air defenses, which are very expensive. Russia can pump out, tanks and munitions at an incredible rate, and they are. America produces about 600 and something Patriot missiles annually. That wouldn't last a week over there. So it's very, very ridiculous what's happening, and the empire should be pulled back if you want America to survive economically. And we will see what happens. Again, that's why I'm so glad that the right is getting more and more populist. Has been for a while, but the pace is really picking up now.
Yeah, mixed style.
So let's let Tucker finish up, and then we will sort off.
Hey, Tucker, I'm a big fan. I would love to work for you. I did give my resume to Steve Bannon. It would be hilarious if you two fought over me. I'm just saying. That would be great.
It'd be like a real bitchy cat fight.
It'd be a hell of a story, yeah. My family has fought for this country. I voted MAGA 3 times. My generation, just like you said, is convinced it can't trust the institutions and the administration, even this administration after last Monday. America first means America first, not foreign governments, not rich pedophiles. I have a lot more about the history, but I'm going to get through it out of respect for everybody. Basically, my questions are this. How does anybody possibly expect us to have any trust in our government, pay taxes, accept draft orders if these elites are not held accountable, right? And how am I anti-Semitic? My great-grandfather killed Nazis, and I brag about it. My mother's doctor was a Holocaust survivor, and everyone calls Trump a Nazi. My family in Chicago and my family in Ireland, which are both liberal hellholes, right? And it's pretty convenient that if he did criticize Israel, everyone could just say, look, I told you so, but that's not the point. Anyways, and finally, and how am I anti-Semitic when all my sources are Jewish, Israeli publications, and Holocaust survivors? And finally, and by far the most important, why can I burn an American flag in my country, but I get a mark by my name if I burn Israel's? Like, how?
I think that's an entirely fair question. It's totally outrageous. You got 65 million people here illegally, according to the administration, and the only ones who are deported are ones who criticize a foreign country. I don't understand it. It's driving people insane, actually, and it's making people angry in a bad way. And I go on, X, and I see stuff. It's like, I don't even want that in my head. I don't want that. I don't want to marinate in that. I'm a happy person. I have a great life. I love this country. I love my dogs. I love my children. I love my wife. And you go online, and people are so mad. I mean, I've never seen anything like the rage online. And I get it. I get it. That's the worst part. I get it. People go crazy after a while if you totally ignore their concerns, if you call them names rather than answering their questions. I really think we need to agree, and this would include the Department of Justice, which is running around, it's got task forces attacking people. It's like, stop. What matters in this country is not what religion, ethnicity, race you are, it's whether or not you're a US citizen. Citizenship has to be the thing that holds us together as a country. We're all Americans. And this continuation of identity politics is the most destructive thing we can do. We are all the same under the law. There is nobody, rich, poor, no matter what your religion, what your color, who's held to a different legal standard, period. That has to be the rule, or else this country will fall apart into warring tribes.
My email is ryanscottcasey@gmail. If I could send you my cover letter, I really.
Ryan Scott Casey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
I like Ryan Scott Casey. He's kind of actually the perfect thing to call it is he's got chutzpah.
Chutzpah.
He's got chutzpah. I'm gonna start doing an ASMR stream. Gonna come up with that.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how things work here.
Okay.
That's
What are
why
you what are you trying to do? Go back to just the two of us?
Yeah. All right, I see these options here now. Good. So there you go.
What I'll do is I'll just make us bigger this way. Make you even bigger. There we go.
Yeah, I'm about an inch taller than you, so that should be an inch. Right?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yes. I might be like a leprechaun-y person.
Okay, let's go.
Right, so you can see why I wanted to review this. Excellent points, very common sense points. By no means is this an extreme position. Unless you are so invested in destroying the US, if you're a leftist, or so invested in, just sucking blood out of it for Israel, then it's a problem. But if you're a regular person, that is going to appeal to them much more so than whatever the hell Ben Shapiro talks about. It was a really long time ago. Right? So he was hoping this type of thinking becomes more mainstream. Because, again, people get radicalized by standards of living, not by, twaddle from a progressive, 25-year-old.
Yeah. No, it's definitely the case, and it's a very interesting time to kind of watch the discourse change over there, and in general among the right wing. This is something I was talking to you about before. Even in Ireland, there's that pull for right wingers over here to succumb to the worship of Israel, just almost as a signaling of which team you're on.
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of Conor McGregor, he did go against the wall.
Yeah. It's bizarre.
Yeah, unfortunately, you are either like an Islamophilic leftist, that's one choice, or you're an Islamophobic right winger, and then you use that to promote Israel.
Yeah.
So not good in that regard. We're not allowed to just have a patriotic option. We have to be patriotic for other nations as well. So just pathetic. And again, the only countries that seem to be, giving any pressure on Israel are Ireland, Spain, Sweden, and a bit of Norway. Right? France makes like a statement. Macron makes a statement, and then does nothing about it. Neither does Germany as well. Just make a criticism. Oh, this is completely unacceptable, and change nothing about their positions. I don't know. It's not looking good for Europe. But if this winds down, we will see what happens, because apparently it's going to be an ultimatum to deport them. And we talked about this. There will probably be pressure on Ireland to accept.
Yeah, I know. This is my fear. This is my fear. Like we're being set up.
Of course, one of the big talking points is, well, why don't any of the fellow Muslim countries accept them? Like, why would they? Like, so we want to ethnically cleanse these people. Okay, right? So why doesn't anyone take them? Because that would be ethnically cleansing them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they pretend like this is some type of hypocrisy, and it's not. It's like, that means you want us to participate in the ethnic cleansing. But do you know that Egypt has a wall towards Palestine? Yeah. They don't want Hamas either. As we said, like, Hamas aren't the good guys. But you're just brutalizing civilians. Well, we got to 30%.
30%. Lock Ray said nothing, but donated €5. Thank you very much, Luckray. Era 1014, well, 1014. 30%. As an audience now, you're up to 30%. In Ireland, a passing grade is 40%. What is it in Serbia?
51.
In America, it's 50 as well, I think, or 50.
Here it's 51, so it's like obviously like over half.
Okay. In Ireland, it's 40. 40% is passing grade.
Well, I don't know what that says about Ireland. It's fun. I will have to read Peter Hitchens' book on like destroying the educational system in the UK. Then maybe we can talk about it at some point. Because it's fascinating that it's a global, basically, phenomenon, or at least in the West, that when grades start failing, things get difficult. They just lower standards.
Yeah.
And you still get passing grades, right? For what wouldn't amount to anything approximating that like a couple of decades ago. And you can, everyone in the audience, you can have fun by looking up what tests look like in high schools, like in like 20s, 30s, 40s. Like the eloquence with which things are presented. And nowadays, textbooks are just like pictures of happy little like cartoon people and animals and stuff. And it's also infantilized. And it produces inferior experts. And then you're like, why do we have to bring in people from China, right? Why are companies moving to China? I think CEO of Apple said, like, China is no longer like a cheap market, but they put a lot of emphasis on getting degrees, so they have pools of expertise, right? You can build a factory over there and easily have engineers around it. Whereas, people go for nonsense in the West, like social studies types, which aren't necessarily a bad thing. But what do you do with 100 sociologists?
Well, I could give you a few things you could do with them.
I love the little Cold War we're having with these name changes.
Oh, you finally noticed.
Yeah.
No, it's I think that's a good place to maybe start pulling it towards an end now, right?
Yep.
That was fun, guys. Share it around. Try and get some people to. I asked you guys. I asked you for more subscriptions by this week so that my daughter wouldn't be so far ahead of me. And what's actually happened is she's pulled even further ahead. Okay. So last week she was maybe 30 subscribers ahead of us. Now she's over 100 subscribers ahead.
Yeah.
Right. So like
polished. We need to clip things. We need shorter. We gained a subscriber, so we're good.
I've actually started clipping, so I'm going to get some clips up. That'll be fine. To the guys who super chatted, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. To anybody, I'm starting my Irish properly now.
Excellent. Yeah. I've started also using another book that is just grammar.
Okay,
focusing on the same dialect. So I'm using it to sort of balance out because I don't like the approach of the original one. So I'm complementing it with pure grammar.
Well, I was about to start on your original one.
Yeah. You should. It should be much easier for you because you've already got
the grounding.
Certainly more vocabulary than I do. But so I'm using both. I wouldn't recommend that for novices. But I've had 20 years of learning foreign languages, so I'm good on that. But definitely, if you're using the first book, I can help you out with anything that's confusing you grammar-wise.
Yeah, we should make updates about it or something like that, or include anybody who wants to be included. Any Irish Americans out there who'd like to learn some Irish, they could join in.
Or any Irish who want to.
Any Irish who want to. Posh Redneck will be a Gaelgoer. Lochray, he's learning. He's coming on very fast. So, and you already
I
speak. You already speak how many languages?
7.
7 languages. So when I say he will be a Gaelgore, he will be a Gaelgore. Like that. So if you are somebody like me who has a reasonable level of Irish compared to the average Irish person, um, and would like to keep up with Posh and not let him pass you out, because within a year he will be better than you. We could maybe set up some kind of a Telegram group or a WhatsApp group, and we could all try and
Yeah,
follow along with each
I
other.
can help people with like tips on mastering certain things. Obviously, this is a very new thing for me. I've not learned any Celtic language before, so there are things that I need to get accustomed to, like all the initial, consonants changing. That's really throwing me for a loop. Most languages, ends of the word change, not the beginnings. But again, that you just need to drudge through it. You need to. It becomes habitual.
Yeah.
So the word order is also strange. You've got the verb, subject, object, but then you've got the whole thing about pronouns in objective functions. How they order them,
Mm-hmm.
etc. But any language you start learning, it's going to be a very, very steep learning curve at the beginning. Then it sort of tapers off a bit, and then when you go to like high level grammar, then it can start being sharp again. But don't just go through it. Trust me, it becomes part of your muscle memory. But you need just regular practice. 10 minutes a day is sufficient
Mm.
to get there. But it needs to be constant, and don't be dispirited. As far as the boss says, like, I have 20 years of experience. Yes, I formally started learning English at 10, and I just never stopped learning languages either on my own or yet going to like private classes.
Mm.
So that's why I say I have 20 years experience. That's when it started, and I ended up going to competitions about for English and stuff. So yeah, I'm not bragging. It's just the thing I like to do.
Yeah. I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you how excellent I am.
Oh yeah, but people start sports earlier than that, and they can say.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Manx Gaelic.
yeah. I've set up like an Irish keyboard,
Ah.
and I told you, like, now he gets angry with me. I mentioned this in your interview with Jim. You get angry with me when I say Irish Gaelic. No, it's just Irish. And then I download like a keyboard pack for Irish, and I install it. What does it say? It says Galga. You git.
No, it's Gaelga. It's Gaelga in when you're speaking Irish, like you say Francais.
Yeah, it's in Irish. You call it Gaelic, basically.
No, Gaelga, which is different than Gaelic.
Oh, sure, Galga. But so I was like, bastard.
Yeah, it's. I had this hilarious argument with a Irish American on Twitter about this, on X, about the proper way to refer. He was so passionate that it was about this topic, where I was just informing him. No, well, look, when you're in Ireland, unless there's Kate, as you've been learning among the native speaking Irish community. I'm from Dublin. I'm not a native Irish speaker. But among the native Irish speaking community,
That's
they
native.
they say different things. Some of them will say "gyalg." Some of them say they've got different words for it, right? So, and then in some people up in Ulster, particularly Protestants, will call it Gaelic, but it's because they're enforcing a certain history, right? So there's this whole thing, right? Because there's a connection there, as in they reject the moniker of being Irish, right? That they're Gaelic, this whole thing. So there's a whole argument there. But within Ireland, when you're speaking Irish, it's called Irish, and when you're speaking Irish, it's called Gaelga, and when you're speaking English, it's called Irish.
Yeah. But again, the Galga. I'm really working on practicing the slender and broad consonants. So, making sure to get my proper g versus a g and all of that. So, yeah. The problem is there is no standardized Irish, right? It's depending on the area. So you just have to pick one, and I didn't pick one. I just picked a book, and it is covering like the Western Galway.
And it's confusing because they have an Irish that they call Standard Irish, but that's the Irish they teach in schools. The Irish I would have learned.
That's probably trying to make like.
They're trying to make a Standard Irish, and nobody from native speaking areas.
Then no one wants to accept that.
Look, Ray, that thing, the Connacht dialect, Munster dialect, Ulster dialect, and then if you speak Irish with any form of Leinster accent, they say, well, that's just not a dialect, right? And I disagree with that because I just think it got wiped out. And if you listen to Munster Irish, it's a bit of a weird coincidence that it sounds like a Cork boy. And when you listen to Connacht Irish, it sounds like somebody from Mayo and Galway. And if you listen to Ulster Irish, it sounds suspiciously like somebody from Ulster. But then, oh, heaven forbid, someone from Leinster speak with their English speaking accent. I don't know. Anyway, I've gotten past this. I'm going to learn to speak in one of the dialect accents.
So the Gaeltacht, most Gaeltachts are in the West, as far as I understand, just the West Coast. Maybe that's why these books are focusing on it so much. But that's my understanding of where it still exists as like an everyday language.
It's in Cushfarraga, isn't it? That's where it's Cushfarraga in Connacht, near Connemara or something, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. So west of Galway, basically.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the book I'm learning from. So if anyone wants to look, Ray, if you want to follow along, I'm going to be getting fluent over the next year. That's it, like a proper Irish nationalist.
So when we reach the next goal, I will sing the Galway Girl song.
Yes.
We are here.
Yeah. He was even singing a song to me before we started in Scottish Gaelic.
Yeah. And trying to get him to whether he would understand anything.
I could only understand a tiny bit.
But that's also, I don't know the differences. I don't know either. You need to know both things to be able to know the differences. But I was just testing it out.
Aran Islands. Oh, Cushfarraga is in the Aran Islands. Is it?
Is that so? Because my understanding is that it means like coastlands or something.
That's what it means. But I think it's also a town, and that's why it said Cushfarraga dialect, I think.
Could be. Pretty simple to master. I'm sure others are more. Could be less complex, but I am where I didn't pick it. It picked me.
No, yeah, it's a Gaeltacht area down south of Connemara. It's actually in Galway. But it's very close to the Aran Islands, and so I would imagine it's the Aran Islands are just right across the water from it. So I'm looking at a map here. So it's likely the same dialect they would speak in the Aran Islands.
Okay, well, luckily the grammar book I found deals with the same one, so I won't be getting. I wouldn't have to, ignore phonetics. They're matching, which would be annoying. If I had to learn the phonetics, but yeah, Gaeltacht is how we would pronounce it in that, because obviously prototonic, which means emphasis is on the first syllable, and then when you get to any unemphasized short vowel, which means one that hasn't got
So you see where Cushfarraga is? See the Aran Islands? Anybody who's listening, you can look.
Yes, I see it.
Where it is. So those green areas are all the Gaeltacht areas that are still existing.
But you see, so in that dialect, you wouldn't call it Cashfarraga, you would call it Casharga, because FH you never pronounce.
Well, I'm aware at this point that my accent would be the accent that the average Irish person would speak. not my specific accent, but saying Kushvarga, right? But you might say it in a Meath accent, or you might say it in whatever. But essentially, it'd be Kushvarga. But I'm aware that likely it's a really terrible bastardized accent. But that's what we were taught in school, so that's what I say, and that's how I read it.
Right. So not Dingle Peninsula. That would be too south. What is described. Definitely that area. So obviously it's called Kasharga. But yeah, that's what I'm working with. So I decided to be as far away from Dublin as possible. So we don't get that, big city boy vibes.
Can't have it.
Oh, no, I'm from a city of 25,000 people, so I don't like big cities.
Irene's from what you could literally describe as a hamlet. And my wife, to anybody listening, but to you, I'd say, yeah, you could easily describe it as that.
That explains the baseness.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, I think we.
Yeah, let's go. We said we were gone. All right, guys. Anybody hanging around? Thank you very much for coming. Definitely check out. Actually, you are going to be getting interviewed on my channel on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we shall be talking about Irish nationalism and religion, and nationalism generally, and religion, and how they intersect.
Yeah, I'm going to start from ancient times, and then we will pull it into more modern conceptions.
So on my channel, I generally just interview people. So I will be interviewing Posh about this. He's gone and done his research, and he is the Orthodox Christian. So that's going to be interesting. And we'll be back next time on Friday for sure. You've all failed, but we'll leave the goal up. And if we get to it, Posh is going to have to sing. And it's in Irish this time, isn't it?
If I get to it, I'm still having some problems with mastering how it's supposed to be pronounced in the dialect I'm working on. Because obviously the Dublinaires, not from Kasharga. So I hope to get it down by Friday. If I do, good. If not, I'll sing Galway just for the sake of geographic comedy. Best type of comedy.
All right.
Or maybe we have Jim Bob on. I had to cancel him for this Friday.
Yeah, Jim Bob could easily
sure.
be here next week, couldn't he?
Yes. So I had to cancel him because I wasn't sure whether I would have a family visit, so I wouldn't be able to make it. So if I can't commit someone else. So I told him about next week. He's interested, and he's got a debate today, so probably wouldn't have been the best time for him to mess about. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I have to both sing in Irish and talk to Jim Bob. And then he will make a lot of jokes about the Irish language. We can see it coming from a mile away.
It's so funny when he does an impression of me speaking, because it's not like me at all. It's like a leprechaun when he does an impression of me. It's like, oh, Jeopardy, I'm just like, I don't talk like that.
I told you he likes to exaggerate for it. But you shouldn't expect to go into it without being mocked. I wouldn't expect a Serbian not to be mocked, but we know whom we are dealing with.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great.
All right. So, wow, a bit of Welsh going on there. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.
God bless everyone.